but we don't make a use of it as we should, as a professional. We make a use as common man, right? We move from one place to another, but there is a lot of other things that you can do. What things that you can do? We'll just discuss a brief about it. What answers it can ask? Where am I? Right? How do I get there? That is route. Where am I? Means your location, right? How fast I am going, your velocity, right? Speed. Where would my friends be? Locating your friends, tracking your friends, or going from point A to point B, right? What is the land used near my house? That you can relate as a civil engineer person. If you want to prepare a land use map, every construction site, every project starts with a land use map. So it can be answered through GPS as well. How big is the plot area? You can measure it, right? So there are a lot of things that you can do even with your phones. It's just that you need to find a right app for it. How many of you, now tell me, how many of you have installed app related to GPS? Anything other than Google Maps? Has anyone tried? No, then just no like this, so I know that you have not tried it, right? You have not tried it, but you can, and it's very easy and it would be very useful for you. I have not kept it in this slide because I have mostly focused on the fundamentals and then I have to do the demo, but I'll just give you the answers, right? If you'll ask, then I may be able to, whatever I know, I'll share my experience. I'll just give you an app that you can use it, right? So anyhow, so what are the primary functions that it can answer? As mentioned earlier, it can give you the location, determining your position. Waypoints, that's in technical terms it's called waypoints. Navigation, getting from one location to another, distance, bearing, directions, right? Tracking, monitoring an object, person, movement. Mapping, creating maps on the field, area measures. There are a lot of apps that can be very handy and very easy for you to do such kind of measure. These are now, it's good to us that, these are all very precise. I mean, hardly you will have an error of few meters if you talk about land and few square meters if you talk about the area, but more or less it's still having a kind of an accuracy that you can use it in a professional work as well, on the fly at least, right? Timing, bringing precise time to the world, UTC time. Why I have mentioned that? Because when we talk about a precision mapping, there are two clocks that we follow. UTC time as we follow is a general clock or a common clock or a standard clock which the whole world follows based on the time zones, like hourly time zones that we have. But there is something which is called atomic clock. You are aware about that term? Atomic clocks are highly precise clocks which are installed or inbuilt in GPS systems or satellite systems, and those monitor the time or read the time the precise of a nanosecond or even more, right? It is that accurate, right? And it has been monitored within like say 200 to 400 stations all around the world to make it more standard. We'll come to the total constellations that we generally come across. Now, can anyone tell me what systems, just like GPS, every country has its own navigation system? Can you give me an answer? What the first one on the left side mean? China. What navigation system? You all have it in your mobile. I'm just making you aware about this thing. Chipsets have all these navigation systems installed in your mobile. All latest mobiles would be having all these navigation systems. China, what navigation systems that they have? It's called Beidou. Beidou. It was earlier or famously known as Compass as well, right? Beidou. Beidou, basically, it was a constellation of star deeper north that they call, and based on it, it's a very holy term in China, and that is how they have termed it, right? Then, which country? Then IRNSS, right? GLONASS, Russia. It's hockey field, that is the reason. Hockey, ice hockey is there. QZSS, Japan. Okay. Galileo, European Union, right? So these are the countries that have, except Japan and India, China, US, Russia, and Europe, they have a global navigation system. We still have a regional navigation system. Regional navigation system, it means that it covers a small portion of the world, right, focusing on our own country, whereas these other countries which have fully operational constellations can cover the whole globe, right? We'll come to that later on. This. So GPS, GLONASS, Beidou, Galileo, these are global GNSS system. They have, there should be at least like 24 satellites to make them a global navigation system or fully operational system as a global positioning system. We have a regional GNSS called Gagan and IRNS. We have two actually to name it. Are you aware about it? Right? What Gagan stands for? Sorry? GPS aided global navigation system, right? I'll give you a brief history about it. Basically, it was started for a defense system, right? It was in early 60s and 70s, right? That defense wanted to track its weapon, they wanted to track the, their enemies and so on. So it was the first when the Department of Defense in 1970 issued an MOM, memorandum to Air Force. Initially it was called as Defense Navigation Satellite System in 60s. Then it was eventually designated the name Navigation Satellite Timing and Ranging Global Positioning System, or NAVSTAR GPS. That was the original term. Now we use use the term GPS only as of now. So then it was primarily meant for GPS and it was primarily meant for US, and they were not sharing it with the other. And so what happened, there were two incidents that happened earlier in 70s and 80s. In 1978, Korean Airlines actually lost its original track of flight path and it was shot down by Su-15, right? And the same event happened again in 1983, which actually resulted in a much heavier loss of life. And what happened, I actually got a track from this thing, net actually, which original path it was supposed to go and which part they took. And so it was again shot down, and eventually that was the reason of a Cold War. Everyone knows about Cold War, right? The Gulf War and that. So what happened was, President Ronald Reagan later on understood this thing and shared it with the other countries as well. So make it a little more accessible for a civilian purpose as well. Now initially what happened was they didn't give that much of a precision that they themselves were getting. What they did was they what you can say injected an error or placed an error knowingly, deliberately, right? That is called selective overability. In 2000 they have removed it now once this DGPS and every new technologies came up. But earlier when they shared it, they had this selective overability, right? And because of that, we can have a broad idea about where our locations are, not as precise as the US was having, right? In those days. This was the path I just had this from the net, that this was the original path, planned path in dotted line, and that was the path that it took, because air systems were not that time, having GPS systems, and this was the result of the Cold War later on. So after the Cold War, smart weapons were developed, GPS-based weapons were developed, and people, became aware about this technology that time, that it's of immense use. Even those who know that Kuwait War, the Gulf War, they blown down a lot of oil wells. Even what I believe, what I remember, Saddam Hussein and that time, they actually burned the wells so that the US or other countries cannot see what's happening or what they are planning below it, right? But what happened was, that time they already had located all the well locations and other important locations through GPS, and that doesn't make any difference, whether they had smoke or something like that. So they just pointed to that coordinate and started blasting it off, So that was the time when people realized the usefulness of GPS systems. This is just some few photographs that I had, got from one. This was the condition, that time in Kuwait, right? So I just move. Basically, again, to come down to the history, Russia and US goes parallel in such kind of technologies, right? The first satellite was actually launched, artificial satellite was actually launched by Russia. You know the name? Right? Sputnik. But navigation system was started by US parallelly, and it got fully operational with 24 satellites in 1995. And this was the same time, Russia also had its fully operational navigation system, 1995. They also started in 60s. So, okay, and then President Bill Clinton in 2000, May 2000, right? May 2000, 2nd May 2000, they actually removed that selective availability and made GPS open to all. So this is just a brief history of this thing. Similarly, I'll not go into details of other countries. Just Cicada was the first one of the low orbit navigation systems by Soviet Union. Cicada M was like the terminology or the navigation system used for military purpose, right? It again became fully functional in 1995. 24 GLONASS satellites of first generation. China, as you all now know that it's just not the Chinese product, as we say it, right? It's a Chinese product, but China has actually advanced far more than our expectations. It's far more technologically advanced than even the developed countries like US. They're challenging them to become a superpower now. China started its navigation system in 2000, right? That's like almost 2-3 decades after this thing, but within 15 years, in 2018, they had these fully global services, fully operational, right? And they have a third generation and like even fourth generation going on right now in phases. So as of January 2022, it's a old slide, right? So 2044 satellites are operational in Beidou systems, right? Those of you you can do this exercise. I have done it few times now. I have Samsung, right? Ultra. Those of you have Korean brands, Samsung. Those who have iPhones, right? And those of you have Chinese, Vivo, Oppo, Xiaomi. What you can do is you can install an app of GPS. There are hundreds of apps, right? I use GPS Essential, I believe, is one app that is very common, very easy to understand. You can note it down. iPhone has its own app again. You can just search for iPhone in iPhone. Those of you are using iPhone, GPS, system or GPS waypoints kind of a thing, and you will get the app that you can measure it. And as for others, those of you are using Android, I believe there is GPS Taste that you can install. And GPS Essential. There are two very basic but good enough for your work. You can install GPS Essential. The logos will look something like that. I have to link it up, but anyhow, something, if you can see something of these dots, I should have got a slide for it, but anyhow, GPS Taste with circle on it, right? So that's the app face. So GPS Taste and GPS Taste, a blue color icon with circle in it. That is the one of the good apps and very easy. And GPS Essential. This will help you. GPS Essential will help you track the routes, take the photographs, take the waypoints, and a lot of other things, right? So those are the basic apps. There are very advanced apps as well. If those of you are later on interested, you can install Maverick, right? I use that quite often. Mobile topographer, planimeter for if you are civil engineer, if you want to measure the area. So I use planimeter, GPS area measurement. There are several of such, right? I'm just giving you a brief idea so that you can explore more, right? But you can start off with these apps. These are good apps and I use it for my purpose as well. So geocam or GPS camera, you can use that, right? This camera is little different from your inbuilt camera. It will, in a way that it will give you a tagged photograph. The coordinates, height, locations, in terms of an address, everything would be like printed on the photo. So it becomes very handy for you if in case you want to do a presentation or slideshows, on the fly quickly. So you don't have to copy paste and search for the coordinates and all. It will be automatically printed on the camera. So that becomes easy. So GPS camera you can use it, right? One for camera purpose. Essential for understanding the whole GPS system, and GPS test to get the idea of accuracy. Now coming back to my point, iPhone users, Samsung users, and Chinese, right? There is Vivo, Oppo, and Xiaomi. You will see I have actually not verified it in a professional app, right? But on paper, Chinese will give you 1 meter accuracy, right? 1 meter to 2 meter accuracy. Samsung, I have a flagship Ultra, right? Phone. It gives me 2 to 3 meters accuracy. iPhone gives 5 to 7 meters accuracy. That is what I have seen from these three apps. Now again, how much you want to rely on the figures of China, it's a matter of your understanding, but at least on papers, on the fly, when you look at it, it will give you. And actually I had just tasted it some three days back in a lecture at Gujarat University, right, where I teach. Actually it show when we had a trackback. There is a function called trackback. When you do layer stacking, point of interest or stacking of points. When somebody has measured an area, like say 4 corners on, now as a civil engineer, you want to verify that okay, some surveyor has given me this coordinate, but then it's an old one, right? Say 5 years back or 1 year back, and I have to verify because now I have to plan, I have to make the construction, and I don't want any kind of an error, at least coordinate wise, and you want to check whether he has done is correct or not. That is called layer stacking of layers. Then in that case you load those points on your GPS system and click on that coordinate, and it will follow that. Your GPS system will follow to that coordinate. And like suppose if it's a DGPS system, if you have taken this point as your coordinate, it should actually hover around or range around this area only. Like when it reaches over here, it should say you have reached your destination. But in general mobile system, you will see that it will have a buffer. The moment you reach over here, it will start shouting, you have reached your destination. But actually, practically it's correct, right? But technically it's still here, millimeter level accuracy. That is what you don't get from your mobile system. So I had verified it. Even in the one who used that was Xiaomi phone, just 3 days back. He actually came this year, and then it showed that you have reached. So in a way, what it showed as 1 meter was accurate for that particular moment of period. At least that I have seen just 3 days back. So that way I believe. But the thing was, the most of the when I verified it, the most of the satellites that it was catching was Chinese, Beidou. Like there are 44, it was like catching 18 to 20 only Chinese satellites, right? And then the other. Whereas our mobiles were catching less of the Beidou and more of GPS and GLONASS, right? So, but then it's a matter of research. You can try and explore. GPS essential, or one of the systems that I told you, you have an option to shut down or rather you can say disable, not shut down, disable the navigation system. Like you will have options GPS, GLONASS, Chinese, Indian. You want to disable some GPS system, you can do that, and you can check how the error changes. So you can try that out. Okay, so that is about a general GPS systems. This is like a little deeper and big deeper. This big deeper was the star based on which it is called Beidou. This was the star and constellation of this thing, where from which it got its term Beidou in China. Galileo again. So 24 fully operational satellites are already there, right? Since its launch in 2011. So it has just recently become fully operational, just a year or two back. India, Gagan, and Navy. So we had 3 different phases: technology demonstration phase, initial experiment phase, and final operational phase, right? Just to give you an idea. I will not go deep into all these things as of now. So why we had to venture into, we needed to come into this navigation system. One, to become an independent, indigenous. We are always like, trying to become independent of other system. But it was specific one reason why we started this. What was that? Why we thought of we should have our own system. We should not, when GPS and everything was fully functional, why we thought that it was the Kargil war, right? In 1999, I believe. What happened was there was some fight going on, and we were like, our armies were in the lower end of the hill, and like enemies were on the higher side of the hill. They were able to view us when they wanted to, and we were totally blank. We were not able to view them. We still won the war. But during that time, we asked the US for the permission for access of GPS. Right? They didn't give us the way we wanted. Right? When we won the war, that was the time we decided, right, that we should have our own navigation system and we should not rely on others anymore. So, and it was the Tiger Hill. That was the Tiger Hill. I just remember that. Right? So I've even got some few pictures of it. Like we were like on the lower side, and the enemies on the higher side, and we still won the war. So anyhow, so Gagan is a satellite-based, GPS-aided geo-augmented navigation system, right? It was primarily meant for air traffic management earlier, and we had 3 satellites that time: GSAT 8, 10, and 15, right? And it was started. We launched the first one in 2012 and completed fully operational in 2014. Right, the orbit is 626,000, just for reference purpose, right? It's not too like, and this is the range, like 5,500 kilometers something is the range where it touches the Australian part, right, from the center. And similarly, geostationary, we will not go deep into these things, but basically we have a geostationary satellites, GPS, when it's geo-augmented, right? GPS augmented, it still uses GPS. It uses our satellite, but it still is dependent on GPS, right? So GPS system will give you some error corrections. Our satellite will give you some error correction, right? And then this navigation reference stations will do the correction. It will send to the master control centers. Master control centers will send this to uplink center, and uplink center will send again back to the satellite. And correction will be given to the planes, right? So this is how it in general functions. Then we have like 7 satellites right now in IR and SS, or now it has been renamed to Navi, right? That is how we all know now. So it becomes operational in 2018. So we will not go deep into all these things. This is the range of this system which covers India and surrounding areas. Okay, so these are the 3 primary segments of GNSS now. So now we had a brief discussion on GPS system. How many varieties of systems are there? I'll just give you a brief about it. So one, we know we have a handset, right? Handheld, or it's called a rover in technical terms, right? We have one GPS with us. That is simple GPS, commercial GPS that we use. Now there is another term which is called differential GPS. Are you aware about the term? That is the one you use it as a civil engineer, or your surveyors use it for you, right? Now how it functions, I'll just give you a brief idea about it. There are 3 segments to it: space segment, control segment, and user segment, right? So basically, as discussed earlier, the space segment will give you some correction. The control segment, which already has some data, feed it to it, will rectify those errors, and then it will send back to the satellite or directly parallel to the user or our mobile systems, and it will give you the correction, right? What I mean by it, we'll come to that in just a moment, right? That what corrections it takes and how it rectifies and minimizes error from 1 or 2 meters that we were discussing about, that what we get it in your mobile systems or handheld Garmin systems, right? To a millimeter level accuracy. That is what civil engineers need, a millimeter level accuracy, and that is what only differential GPS will give you. Apart from total station, which works in a different fashion, we'll come to that as well. Anyhow, so another thing that we need to understand when we talk about the technicalities of this GPS systems, we or you, rather, we as a technical person or environment engineers or civil engineers, we need to understand this logic that when it should be operated, in which weather condition it should be operated, right? So that you get the best of the results. Otherwise, you will not get a precise measurement, and that precise measurement, if there is a failure in the measurement, it will become a catastrophe in your construction work as well. So this becomes very useful, as you might have been told in GIS as well, you know, that data collection is foremost important part, because once the data is collected accurately, then only you can do whatever analysis you have done all this week, right? But the data itself is wrong, then all of your analysis, all your experiences, knowledge will fail, because the base data itself is wrong. So whatever analysis you have done, ultimately it would render useless, right? Or it will fail the project. And so what you need to understand when using a GPS systems or DGPS system. Now, just to give you an idea, you might be aware about the errors that are present in the atmosphere or the cloud. You can relate it that the moment you have a rainy season or very cloudy weather, you will see that your GPS error will increase, because it will not be able to connect with the satellite. You have a different range, right? You have different frequencies of it. Again, there are different frequencies which you should consider. I'm just becoming like going a little technical. If in case you don't get it, in the middle you can just raise your hand and stop me, or if you want to skip that portion, just let me know, right? I'm just giving you whatever I know about it. Okay, so there are 4 things that you need to understand while using a DGPS system. One is your clock correction. It will come. I'll just one with your clock correction. Second would be your atmospheric correction. Third would be your almanac correction. Fourth would be your ephemeris correction. Right? 4 corrections are usually taken. Now what it means? GPS clock correction basically, has told you need to verify it, rectify it, because GPS has atomic clocks and we have achieved local clocks with us. So, and plus there are time difference, nanoseconds, but there is still time difference, because the moment GPS satellite sends the signal, and by the time our mobiles or GPS system or the radar receivers catches those signals, right, there would be some time lag, right, maybe in nanoseconds, but that will turn into a distance error. Now again, when we refer to time, what it means in business, like if you are already into business and work, right, what is time? Time is right here. Time is equivalent to distance. The more time error is there, means a more distance error is there, because every measurement is done based on the time the receiver receives that signal, right? That's called a pseudo range. It's not a perfect time, it's pseudo range, and our receivers are equipped with some coding, and it can recalculate this thing and find out the exact time, because every message that has been sent from GPS also carries something which is called navigation message, right? It has all this data into it, and our receiver will read it and try to rectify it, right, based on the messages it receives from the several satellites, and then it will try to sync with that atomic clock for that particular time period, right? So that's how it works, right? This is the time difference. I'll not go much into all these technicalities, but that's just what I explained earlier, right? That pseudo range will try to mimic the signal of the GPS in its own system, and try to find the time lag. Based on the time, it will find out that how much time it takes for the signal to get recorded or read in its own system, and it will give you a distance. So I'll just give you an example that time t was the one which GPS sends the signal. It's usually called time travel of light, right? That's 1,86,000 miles, right? So you can do this just on this, t. Suppose the receiver receives the signal just sent in time t at 0.064 seconds. What it means, how we calculate? Simple calculation. It travels at the speed of light, right? So 1 second equal to 186 miles. So how much is 0.06? And you can get it's 12,000 miles. So that is the time difference even if it's 0.06 seconds. So you can just imagine how precise calculations are done with our atomic clocks, And there are other factors probably it should come, it will come like this. We all know that our day is of 24 hours, right? We all agree to it, right? Yes. One is not agreeing to it. Why? Why do you think we don't have 24 hours? How much time do we have in a day?
I don't exactly remember that, but there is some correction that we have to apply every certain time.
That's called leap second, right?
That's why
0.
we have leap year
No, every year.
every year.
Every year or two. I mean, actually it's not constant because our Earth rotation is not constant. I mean, there is a constant factor as such, but tidal factor. Even this just what I have read through net, right? Even I just read one news that China is doing some blocking some areas, the tidal waves which is actually slowing down. Even in nanosecond, slowing down the rotation of the Earth. This is what I have just read on net. I don't know how far it's true, but basically our rotation, tidal waves and everything affects our rotation. So it's either Earth is moving a little slower or a little faster, not exactly like an atomic clock that measures. So over a period of time, UTC time, which is a world time, right? Universal time coordinated. It starts to vary with the actual GPS time because GPS time does not understand the logic of day and night. It just constantly ticks and takes the reading as they have to take the readings, and we on other hand adjust the UTC time. So our day actually is 0.00002 seconds. 0.002 seconds, right? So it's 0.002 seconds larger, right? More. So what happens over a period of time? Usually, if it reaches to 1 second, for some reason, technical calculation, we don't allow it to reach to that 1 second at 0.9 seconds, or now usually what I have read is like 0.4 to 0.6 seconds. We make the adjustment, which is called leap second. And all the clocks, we don't know about these things, right? But all the clocks are actually reaching to by 1 second every 1 or 1.5 years. But it all again depends on the rotation. It's just a standard this thing that is mentioned over here. But it so happened that 2-3 years, like we do not require to make any adjustment because the Earth is rotating as per schedule this thing. So, but it all depends. So as of today, and it's like 18 seconds. GPS time is always 18 seconds ahead of UTC time. You can check this over internet. There is one site that is leapsecond.com or something. Maybe I have kept it here or not. Actually, got something. Leap second. You can try this thing. I don't know. I have kept it here. See that. Leap set. Oh, it's not sure. It only shows the presentation. Anyway, it's not able to change to that screen, right? It only shows the presentation. So leapsecond.com, you can just type leap second and you will see that is UTC time, right? What is called GPS time, that is LORAN time, EAE time, right? These are all different times, atomic international, which manages all the time based on 200 atomic clocks all over the world. So that is the one agency or rather an organization which manages all these things, and our local time. So you can try those things later on. You can check. I'm just quoting it down so that you can just note it down and at least learn later on. So once I brief you about all these things, at least you will be aware that so many things are there and you need to consider so many things. So it's okay if you don't get it at this point of time, but at least you will remember that something of this sort was spoken by someone, right? So anyhow, Zulu time is probably it's like they use it for military purpose. I below it for 24-hour clock in other terms. So anyway, So there is the local adjustment that they make. I will just have the slide for it. And after that, they like 0.0 to 7, and this one goes, every 1.5 years or 1 year, and based on that, it gets adjusted, and that's what is called a leaf segment, right? So those adjustment will overall, make changes to the one. I have also heard you can check all this on net as well. They made was one leaf segment change in 2012 or something, and lot of apps crashed. A lot of browsers crashed because they were not able to sync with the adjustment, and everything crashed in 2012. You can just check it on net, that they were not able to manage all these things. Usually when they make such kind of adjustment, now they inform before 6 months that we are going to make a leaf segment change, right? 6 months prior to that, so that people can manage and do all technical adjustment they needed to do. Anyhow, so I'll just move. I'll just brief you about the signals again, but I'll just make it a little fast. If you catch one satellite, it basically means that you are in some of this horizon that is shown over here, but you do not have any precise distance or location or direction to it. So basically, when we talk about differential GPS or DGPS system, or any system in general, at least we need to have 4 GPS coordinates, satellites, right? For the correction. First one will give you some brief idea about, like you can say, data from that particular satellite that is hovering around us, inside the horizon. Then you need a second satellite for making it more precise. In an ideal world, if 2 satellites will give you a precise time, suppose everything is properly synced and atomic clock and everything is synced, 2 satellites will also give you a precise time travel and in a way coordinate system in 2D format. But that never happens, right? Because there are a lot of errors within the atmosphere, or rather I would say ionospheric error. If someone has mentioned in your training, I'm not sure, but ionospheric error will generally refracts your rays, your signals rather. So it, like as you see in the glass of water, right? When you throw a light, it will get refracted like this. It will show a little, make a little oblique angle kind of thing, right? That is what happens with the signals as well in the ionospheric zone. Our actually satellites were initially, or rather it's still meant for studying of ionosphere, because we are planning to get into global navigation systems as well. It's called GIS, Global Indian Navigation System, GIS, as of now at least, till the time it launched. So we are also studying the ionospheric errors. That time our satellites are working on that as well. But so then what happens is, either our clock is slower or our clock is faster than the atomic clock. So if the time changes, the area or rather the distance or location will also change. If it's slower, maybe it will have a different yellow dot that you see. If it's faster than the atomic clock, then maybe it will have a little more bigger, larger area, and our location may be shown over here. So these are the pseudo ranges, right? So in ideal world, it never happens. So for that, we require a third GPS to triangulate, as you all do it, right? That I believe you have already learned in civil engineering, in surveying subjects. You have surveying subjects, right? So you have no triangulation. So anyhow, so to get this thing, but again to cross-check or verify, we still need a 4th satellite to. And if you don't have a 4th satellite and our software allows, we can add the elevation data and we can still get the accuracy. If we know a precise elevation of this particular surface where we are standing. Or otherwise we need a 4th data to cross-verify and sync our own clocks to the atomic clock, and then to get a precise coordinates, right? And again this is again related to your geometry of the satellite. So these again 4 satellites, this is an ideal condition. Still 4 satellites are an ideal condition, which usually is not sufficient for a precise accuracy. At least you have 12 channels, 18 channels, 20, 30 satellites that we can, So this is the minimum that we require. Okay, so these are the error sources of error, right? So I'll not go in deep, like satellite clock error that every satellite has a predicted path, right? We all know that everything is known to us, so it has a predicted path. but it usually doesn't go along its predicted path. There is minor, very minor variations to its path as well. So those corrections, and that will create an error in the syncing of or getting a precise data. So those errors is related to orbit error. Clock error, as you all know, atomic clock error are there. Ionospheric error based on the ionosphere, troposphere. Receiver's noise, that means the kind of chipsets or this kind of cover that we use and everything, like whatever noise we have in our systems, that also will come, and there is something which is called multipath error. Selective mobility is no more over there, and user error if you are very impatient and you just say, okay, I just have to go and do some other work, let me just take a point, and you are not patient to actually bring that reading, constant reading, for at least waiting for 5 minutes or 4 minutes or 3 minutes. You just hastily stand over here, okay, I got this point, okay, done, and you will move. But that one, for that particular moment, it may seems like it's a correct coordinate, but it's not a correct coordinate. If you will stand there or keep your GPS device, for some 5-10 minutes or something like that, it will try to get itself normalized. Like we have averaging. We suppose you customize or fix a parameter that your system should take a reading at every 10 seconds. So if you have like 10 minutes, so it will take 100 readings, right? And then that 100 reading again, when you stand here, you can try that with your receiver as well, right? You can just stand in one place and hold it like this, or just keep it ideally like this. Still your GPS location will be like this, moving like this. If any one of you have tried, you will see that it will constantly moving like this. So those are errors, right? 1 meter error or 0.5 meter error or 2 meter. So let it settle down or let it average it out. So like 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, so there may be 100 points, and then it will average it out and try to give you a precise coordinate and average coordinate to it. And that becomes a little more precise than your first reading itself. So that is how you should work, in a professional manner if you are working, in like professional projects and all. So anyhow, that's a user error as well. This is a multipath error. Multipath error means that you have electromagnetic radiations everywhere. Telephone towers, radio towers, and whatnot, mobile receivers, and even it will bounce from the buildings. So those data that you receive, the signals that you receive, have several bounces to it. So to remove that error, there has to be some logic inbuilt in your chipsets, right? So those all things you need to at least be aware about it, because as of today, we just simply take the readings. We never bother about what's the science and technology behind all these things, right? To us, it's just 1 point. उसमें क्या है तो ये तो सब में आता है, China में भी 1 point लेंगे, but there will be some devices which cost lakhs and lakhs of rupees. Some devices which are very cheap, right? It's only based on the lot. Even if you know, even in mobiles, right? Both of them say that they are having the same chipset. Sony will also say I have same chipset. iPhone will say I have a same chipset. Samsung, Chinese, everything. But one will be costing 1.5 lakhs and another will be costing 50 or maybe 50,000, maybe 10,000, 50,000. Right? Even cameras that Xiaomi will say I have 108 megapixel. It will cost 20,000. Samsung will say I have 108 megapixel. It will cost 80,000. iPhone, when it says I have 108 megapixel, maybe it will cost 2 lakh rupees. Right? Probably even they are using a same chipset, but the logic, the connectivity, right? That they are using, the formulas that they are using to modify and rectify those errors, that is why they are costing so much higher. Same camera, iPhone still has one of the best camera in the world. And if you look into the specification, it may not have more than 20 megapixel or 40 megapixel now, I believe so, right? That is the reason why they were not mentioning in terms of megapixel. They were only mentioning HD, Ultra HD, because you will straightway relate iPhone's camera to Samsung's camera and Xiaomi's camera. Oh, my camera is 108 megapixel and iPhone is having 20 megapixel only. But still, if you compare the result, Xiaomi may not stand anywhere even close to iPhone in terms of the precision, color coding, D-logs, and whatnot, right? So that is why something costs very high. It all depends on your requirement, right? If you do not require an iPhone kind of an accuracy or this thing, then other things are also very good now. The technology is, even I don't say Chinese like it's not good, right? It's good, very good. And I'm actually, that's why I'm having one of these products. display. It's a Chinese product to mention it, right? And it is actually one of the finest product that I have seen, right? Irrespective of US, India. I'm not against any of these countries. I also love my country, right? We are all Indians, absolutely. But to be very honest with you, right? To be very honest with you as a professional, none of our companies even have any chance, stand any chance with DGI. It is that powerful and that reason. I cannot show a demo over here of any Indian product. I have Indian product with me, right? Idea Force, one of the like very high-end drone that I have. I'm only going to display it right now, right? I will not fly it. I'll be flying this thing for the ease of, like for convenience purposes. But I have Idea Force PPJ drone. If you are aware about this drone, I have Idea Force Rhino, which is being used by Survey of India as well. They have purchased around like 200 or more right now. Many of the security systems are also using it, and there are a lot more. I still prefer to use it. Right? I have first bought Rhino PPJ, considering like make in India and I'm Indian. But then soon I realized that forget about all these things. We need to survive. I need to have my bread butter as well. I will not survive otherwise. I need DJI. So I have now 3 DJIs and 1 Indian this thing, right? I have brought all those like another 4 in total. But anyhow, that is again. I mean, having said that, it is still good. I don't say that it's not good. Indian products are still good, very good. And it's a PPJ drone, which is far precise in terms of post-processing and like real work, right? But it's not just that user-friendly, and you can say you will have that confidence that once you launch it from here, it will land it over here. It may land it over there as well, right? So in challenging environment, you cannot rely on, at least to my experience, right? Maybe there is some company, but to my experience, I won't rely on any Indian drone as of now. If I fly it over here and it will land over here. I have tried it several times, and that is the reason I can say this, right? Because I have never landed on the coordinates I actually started launching. Anyhow, so we'll come to that later on. There's little more technicality, and I'll try to move fast. I hope everyone is still interested in me to continue the theory part. If so, let me know. If you are interested in demo, we'll have a break, we'll have a demo, and we'll continue. We'll continue, right? Okay. So, this is the navigation terminology. I'll just give you a brief and then I'll move quickly. This basically, this is from one of my earlier days when Garmin used to have these handsets. This is more particular to Garmin mobiles or Garmin devices, right? And Garmin watches maybe. There is a lot of things that you can learn, or maybe you will find in your GPS systems which I asked you to install, right? You may not use all those things, but if you know it, right, it will still be helpful that what it means, because you will see many terminology and you will get confused at what it all means. So I'll just give you a brief about it. Active from waypoint, that start. That is this. You have that? This thing? Okay, no. Active from waypoint is the point we started. Okay, now I'll see this. Active leg is go to waypoint means the destination. Just consider it as a destination where you want to go. So from the point you want to start and from the point you want to go, it's called active legs. That's the technical terminology I'm discussing. So from the point you are starting to the point you are actually moving, right? That's called post made foot or post over ground. That is an angle from the north, from the point of start. And the active leg from the north to the active leg is called desired track. That is the track we desired. That's the shortest route, you can put it that way. Once, and the error or the shift means this thing, it's called cross track error, right? So the length. Once you reach over here, again we are moving in this direction. Our closest route from here is this to this. That is called a bearing from the north and distance to the waypoint. And this is the present active leg, and speed over ground you can consider it as a velocity. And this particular where we are moving right now is called tracking. Simple term. So tracking, bearing, distance over course over ground, and a lot of technical terms that will come across if you are actually trying to learn or even trying to understand GPS system. These are the terms you will come across, right? So just giving you a brief about this thing. Again, there are certain kinds of other errors, as I told you, geometrical errors. Like suppose I said that 4 is the minimum DGPS satellites that you require, right? But if that's okay, there is a point of dilution of precision, right? Position dilution of precision. There are like 5 dilution of precision. Position dilution of precision is a mix of vertical and horizontal dilution of precision. Geometry is a geometry refers to satellite anomalies, and time dilution is makes slight anomalies in the time division. So you just remember dilution of precision formula. You can just note down the terminology. Maybe you can do a little search later on. So dilution of precision is also something which you need to take care and which will be available to your GPS system later on. What it means, like suppose 4 satellites are there, but this is the ideal geometry which we desire. That 3 satellites should be far enough covering all the direction. 1 should be on our forehead so that we can get the base of the signals, right? That is only possible when we are in an open ground, right? But at times, like suppose this is a building and we are standing right beside this building. Even we are getting, you will see that we are getting 5-10 satellites. But what happens is those satellites are a little on like left hand side. I mean, since we are standing right beside the building, all the satellites from this direction might get blocked. So you are not getting a good geometry. You are still getting a calculation, but that calculation may not be that good because everything has been blocked from this angle, right? So what it means? So this is a poor geometry. When you are very close and nothing is overhead and it does not have a good this thing, you know. This is again a poor geometry, nothing is overhead, right? This is again a biased one, there is a buildings or maybe you are running in an urban area and everything has been getting blocked and we have some few satellites over here, you know. So these are like not good geometry. So anyhow, so it just give you a brief idea about, now again, I mean this is an ideal or like conceptual things, but nowadays there are something which is called assisted GPS. There's a lot of other things, you know. There are a lot of technology terms. And even in a small closed environment we are getting good precision nowadays, right? Okay, again when we talk about DGPS now, we are coming to DGPS system, the demonstration that we are going to do right now, DGPS system. There are again 2 types of survey. One which is called a static survey, another is called kinematic survey, right? I mentioned RTK, but there's RTK and PPA. But basically it's a kinematic survey, it's a static survey. What it means? Have you ever seen some system, you know, standing for few days or something like that? As like in civil engineering part, construction industries, like there are a lot of, there's the highest number of survey, right? And as a civil engineering, you need to understand even if someone has taken a correct coordinate, because otherwise when doing a planning in civil engineering, even the centimeter of an error counts, right? If you are planning a building and a tall building like Burj Khalifa, right? A centimeter of an error in a base will be, you know, a big havoc maybe in later stages, centimeter, cumulative error would be like, will be unimaginable, you know, what it will happen, you know. So the precision needs to be done. Now when we are using a DGPS system, I'll just show you a demonstration doing a DGPS system. We need to have a known coordinates. So we have a base and we have a rover. In general terms, we only have a rover. Consider this as a rover. We have a rover with us. And this gives you an error of the precision, base precision of 1 meter, say. But it's still not giving you a centimeter or a millimeter level accuracy. We need a second device to do the correction. That is your base station. Now that base station needs to be located in a known coordinates. So either that known coordinates has to be from the Survey of India, which they have published and, you know, inform you that it's a precise one, or you need to do a static survey. And for that you need to have a highest precision device that you. I have a Leica GIS 18D which I have brought today. There are many other versions of DGPS. Again, Chinese product worth 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs. Mine one, it's costing around like 16, 17 lakhs, one device itself, right? And the reason was that it is immune to electromagnetic radiations, right? North deviation when you stand besides the pole, and it's helpful giving me a precise coordinate in a challenging environment. You know, when I'm standing close to some electrical pole and something, my north pole will not deviate. So you can try that with your compass. Have a compass and stand beside an iron bar or an electrical tower. You'll see your north will start deviating or it will get hang. You know, it's a system, right? How, what it relates to? As you are having a drone. Drone also has a GPS, which is what we have. It also does have a RTK system, the higher versions of it. But otherwise, in general, it has a GPS system itself. If you fly a drone close to an electric pole, what will happen? Its GPS may get hanged. It may, the calibration runs out, or maybe the north will deviate. What happen will, it will not able to understand the path again, and the north will be somewhere else. It will go that way, or it will crash, or it will get pulled down by the electromagnetic radiation. It sometimes I've seen. Fortunately, I didn't have to experience that, but I've heard and a few of my friends also experienced that. It gets pulled down when you fly close to, like say, this radio tower. When you go very close, it will just get pulled down and it will crash because the electromagnetic pull. So when you fly a drone, you need to consider all these things. You just don't have to see that okay, pole to यहाँ पे and I'm just going little ahead. कुछ नहीं होगा. But it times what happens, it will get just pulled down, it will fall down. Even in like I'm basically a geologist, hydrogeologist. I work for like many mining industries as well, drone survey, volumetric survey, change analysis, and different kinds of study, 3D modeling, groundwater modeling. Right, what you learn in your I believe you learn groundwater modeling, right? Mode flow probably, or flood analysis, or watershed analysis, and all those things. Right? I also do the same thing. I do that all. You learned it in enterprise edition. I use different software probably. I have ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS Desktop proprietary license with me. Again, purchase one lifetime one. So, but it's very good. But to move on to the next level, you probably may require different things later on. Anyhow, so one is this thing. So ideally, it requires 72 hours reading. So what happens that you station a base right over there. I'll show you some base station and calibrate it, and it needs to stay there in a recording mode to at least 72 hours. After 72 hours, you can shut it down. You can do some post processing or take the reading, and it will be like a very precise point, and you can consider it as a static point generated by your own, right? Or if in case there is no Survey of India points available to us, so you can generate it. And few big companies are actually giving a good reliable results. Leica is one of them. Trimble probably would be another one which I know, and there may be some few more agencies. Anyhow, so now that is, let's suppose you have to have 72 hours reading, you have taken it fine, but you need on the fly reading. You are not really worried about micro, nano level precision. You just need 0.7 meter, maybe 7 mm is fine for me. Generally, all DGPS system even are close to. Mine one shows 2 mm. I have seen it in Kutch area. 3 mm, 4 mm. Ideally, it's always like 6, 7 mm, 8 mm, which is good enough, right? So you want that I don't want to wait for such a long time, and I just want a quick reading of mine and something. And you should do. You can have a second phase as a rover, and you can work it out in an RTK mode or a PPK mode. Even your drone functions in the same manner. That is real-time kinematics, RTK. Post-processing kinematics, that's PPK, right? So RTK and PPK, again there are two terminologies. RTK is just will give you millimeter level accuracy. You just have to place your second base, like the one is standing over here, take a reading, take for 10-15 seconds or whatever your system says, ask you to do. 10 seconds is more than enough, and it will give you 7-8 mm of accuracy, which is good enough. That is what is used by civil engineering. They take a base reading initially, and they do it with either DGPS system and do the survey, and it's very fast, or they use token system, right? So this is an RTK. So I'll not go deep into RTK and PPK now. So basically, PPK is, you can, in general, this general term, you can work it out on a cloud-based processing, or there are other software meant by particular companies like Leica. Leica has its own Captivate software. It has its own points for me to calibrate or rectify after I have taken the point in a PPK mode, right? So now you have taken a drone or maybe DGPS points and you can go to the cloud, go to that particular software, do the processing it requires, and you can give a millimeter or even like micrometer accuracy later on in post-processing process. And RTK again is good enough. You take the points on the fly within few seconds, it will still give you millimeter level 7-8 millimeter of an accuracy, and you can do. But at times what happens is it's all depend on the connectivity. You need a continuous connectivity. If the connectivity breaks, you will have some data gaps. And in PPK mode, those are independent versions, and you can have the readings, and you can in post process you can rectify those errors. So as far as drone is concerned, PPK mode is more suggestive, right, than the RTK. So it has a different mode as well. The same thing, I'll just not repeat that, in PPK mode, that need not to be GPS system and your drone connectivity present, right? In RTK mode, everything needs to be connected. I'm just showing you with lines. And in PPK mode, drone and your GNSS system need not to be connected at the time of flight. You can do the post processing. So there is no connection between having a base station and having a drone, which I will show you again in the demonstration soon. But it has to be independently recorded. So drone will record its own reading, and GPS system now it has a range of 5 to 10 kilometers in radio mode or SIM card or internet mode. So, but it has to be there. It does not need to be connected, but it will require in post processing. So you will collect the data. That's more. It's called a RINEX file in particular. The RINEX file from here you will collect this data, and then in the post processing software you need to place both these files together and do the post processing as your software requires it to do, right? But you require both these data. So I'll not go into all these things. It is all a little more technical. There is one thing that you need to. So RTK and PPK drones, I have already actually given you an overview about this thing. It says the same thing. PPK drone is more suggestive, because you can rectify the things in post processing as well. In RTK drone, if you have missed some data, then you will have to redo everything, because you cannot rectify or modify it in post processing. And it has to be beyond, PPK can work beyond visual line of sight, and RTK needs to be, since it needs to be connected, it has to be in visual line of sight. Visual line of sight is basically everything like your Bluetooth. Just to make your, if you have a Bluetooth connected, if I see you, and if it gets connected, you can connect it. If you are in the next room, if the Bluetooth cannot see, your device cannot see the next device, it will not get connected, right? So that's something which is called visual line of sight in general. Okay. So we'll come to different instrument side. Now, as a civil engineer, these are the instruments used by civil engineers. In fact, every surveyor, but civil engineers is more in particular. So I have brought an additional side. GPS system, geodolized, total stations, DGPS. How many of you know about all this terminology? All this, all of it, right? How many of you have gone in the field? So that is why you know it. The rest of you have not gone in the field, they don't know about this terminology. How many of you have used it? General, just for my idea. You are Gujarati?
Yes.
Gujarati only. Anyone who does not understand Gujarati? So I will continue. Actually, I am also Gujarati. But generally, when you are like 20, 50 people, some of them they don't understand. So I just switch to Hindi. Good. So, okay. So basically, theodolite you have seen. What is the purpose of theodolite? Actually, I have not used theodolite. I have just like grabbed it but not actually used it. So what is the purpose of theodolite? Leveling, angles, maybe distance, right? Distance and bearing. That's the terminology that we use, right? Nothing more than that, right? An arbitrary point, and then a distance from that point, and the bearing or angles to it, right? Horizontal or vertical, whichever you want. So that is a limited application, which is used. I don't know how where all things you use, but road survey I have seen, right? Primarily. So that is one. A little beyond this is your total station, right? What it does, how it functions? coordinates, labels and bearing. Now the advanced versions have that function of having projection system, but you have to manually feed that. But as you said, coordinates, not projection system. Now there is a difference. What is coordinate? How it started? Do you know about? I just remembered it. So who was the originator of coordinate? René Descartes was the person, and how he came about this concept. You know that he was actually ill and he was lying on a bed, right? And then there was one fly, that is like moving around, and he just feel like telling someone or locating it by himself, and he just thought lying in the bed, ideally what should I do? Then he said, how can I locate it? Then he just realized that he also had such kind of a system that what you have already right now. He had these like blocks in the ceiling, and he just realized that if I can count the blocks from left to right and front to back, I can locate that fly. So if he said, he thought that if I can count the 3 blocks from the left and like 5 blocks from the front, I can locate exactly where the fly is. And that is how he developed this system, that if I can use this in a global scale, I can locate everything in the world. If there are some blocks designed, for the whole world, then I can just, put the things on that block and I can, learn where the locations are, and that is how, based on his, René Descartes coordinate system got developed, right? And so basically, your coordinate system works again with an arbitrary point 0, 0. If those of you are working, you just have a base station, just like DGP, you have a base station, you arbitrarily put just like, hypothetically 0, 0, and you can start working on it. So based on that base coordinate, everything would be surveyed, and you can just place those data on your computer and then start working. But that coordinates are not the true coordinates. That does not mean that 0, 0 is actually the 0, 0. But as of now, you know that when you are standing over there, you have a latitude, longitude, right, system, and there are some figures attached to it, right, easting, northing, and that is what you talk about in total stations, easting, northing, right? So either you have to put it manually, right, and then you can still work on it, or either you can have a mobile or a DGPS system, get the precise coordinate, feed that coordinate to your base coordinate, and then you can do the survey. That way you will be able to do a precise coordinate like or survey as like DGPS works, right? Now advanced version of it, maybe they have that capability. I'm not sure. They have a capability at least to read from DGPS. That I know. That if you have placed the DGPS system, you can just fetch it, fetch the coordinate and this distance and bearing, and they can feed it in your base station. That thing I know. But to directly get into the total station, I'm not aware about it because I don't use much of a total station. Surveyor does for me, right? But DGPS differs now that your GPS system. How your GPS system differs? GPS system, as told, has a cheap clock, world coordinated clock, right, synced clock, but it has an error of 1 meter. So you can use it for a reference purpose, not a professional purpose. But it has a precise, you can say still a more or less very good accuracy, and you can use it for the surveying purpose or general purpose. It will still be useful to a great level. And now the algorithms are so fine, you can get 1 meter accuracy is fine enough for a regional level or a larger areas where you don't require a millimeter level accuracy. Suppose for me, like in the environment sector, or maybe I'm interested in finding out a tree-clad area or a forest area, I need not to have a millimeter level of precision. Even if I try, I won't be getting it. So for me, a meter distance is fine. I mean, if this is your, you can say forest area, if I differ from here to here, it really doesn't matter. Practically, I mean, technically it's wrong, but practically if my coordinate shows from here to here, it doesn't really matter, because even if I go over there, I'm not very sure that this is the boundary that is the correct boundary for a forest to start. Everything is like little averaged out, Our map देखोगे तो I mean that the Hindi guy is listening, or I just speak in Gujarati? You are listening?
Yeah, I'm listening to it.
You are busy in computer, so I thought if you are busy, then I'm talking Gujarati.
No, you may continue in Gujarati also.
Fine. No, everyone needs to understand whether you are focused or not. So anyhow, so that is the idea. So I just have some slides to it. GPS systems are useful because they are very small. Now they're very small size and you can do a lot of things, with GPS, other than having a professional grade precision. So you still can use it in many ways, right? Tracking, monitoring, etc., etc., etc. AGPS. How many of you know about AGPS? You all have it. That's called assisted GPS. Your mobile uses that. Every mobile uses that. So see, a lot of things that you don't know, right? So even I didn't know. I'm also a hydrogeologist, but slowly, since I'm a professional, I work for myself. I have my own, this thing, freelancer. You can say, I have to learn I have no choice, but to learn myself. So I am interested in learning everything that I can learn, right? So I have learned DGPS. I have learned, drones. That is the way I have actually learned myself. I have worked day and night, even though I had no formal training, even in DGPS, even in drones. Of course, when I purchased it, they gave me some idea about it, but no other formal training myself. I work day and night. I search YouTubes and other channels and everything, and I learned it all by myself. And I can say that I'm like good enough to match with the competition. Maybe not better, than at least I can do a lot of. I know like a lot of softwares now. I know almost all major softwares in drone. I know Pix4D, I know AGI Soft, I know reality capture. I have learned the one which I'm going to show you a demo, or which you have already been shown a demo. It is side scan. Have you been given a demo of side scan? Right? I just learned yesterday. I'll show you a demo. I don't know how good I am, but maybe 2 days ago it's a subscription based, and I'm more interested in having a perpetual licenses, because subscription I cannot afford. Like it's costing like 3 lakhs per year or something like that. Within 3-4 lakhs I can have a perpetual license. So I have a reality capture, which again is a very good, as good as having a GIS system for drones. You can say it's that good. Reality capture is from Epic Games. Epic Games is again a very big company in virtual reality world. Even if you have heard about the heard the interviews of Mark Zuckerberg, when he was developing Meta, that which are the companies you are actually worried about, or which you think is your competition. Then he named these 2 companies. Google is the one, Microsoft is the one, Apple, Epic Games. Epic Games is more into Epic Games, gaming system, but it has this virtual reality modules and everything, and it is also there in your drone systems as well. So I have a reality capture, from an Epic game, but these all are good. X4D is also good. Side scan I have just done just day before yesterday when they gave me the license, right? That show a demo in since you have a package of ArcGIS, right? So I'll still give you a brief about it, but it is very good and very handy. I know all this software, and I feel that CT scan is really worth the price. It is very easy once you understand it, and everything has been done in their server, so you don't require hardware. I have like a very heavy server kind of a thing to process my drone images. You don't require that much of an amount or that much of space for it, right? And everything has been done from the E3 end, and it's really fast. And the good part is that it will give you the time even that within 1 hour it will get processed, or within 4 hours it will get processed, something like that. So I've tried on 2 data sets. I've brought one slide of one data set of like 560 images which got processed in like 4 hours, right? And one I had processed like 70 images and it got processed within 1 hour. So every 100 images you can put 1 hour. General 100 image will give you 1 hour processing time. 400 image 4 hours. 500 images 5 hours. General, not really that figure, but that much approximate time you should think about when you use an ESRI software. Technical people might have given you the best figure that is there. Mine is from the experience of 1 day. Right? This is theodolite. Right? Tell me if I'm wrong, right? This is theodolite that you do, angle and bearing and all those things. Total stations. That image actually has gone. Actually, I had a person standing over there, but somehow I deleted it. But I was focusing on that prism. Prism, right? You have learned that too. So this is differential GPS. Now, again, I'll give you a brief 5 minutes of how differential GPS works, right? Because at least you need to understand the little logic behind it. So now you know about theodolites, you know about total station, you know about GPS and DGPS is of highest accuracy as of now, right? How this functions. So as I told you, you have this base station. Right? This is my this thing only I have kept it photographed it and kept it over here. This is the one I have it, right? GS 16 as a base. I have GS 18 T with T compensation as my rover, and this is CS 20 as the controller, right? And the satellite, right? So and I have a distro with it. So, what is the concept? Why are we discussing so much about DGPS? What is the concept behind it, right? Now, as you all know, if we have one base station or one rover or one instrument, it's going to have some error to it, right? Now, we have a base station, right? Installed some place. This place, as I told you earlier, need to know or need to have a precise coordinate to it. So either we have taken this point here from Survey of India, or we have done a static survey of a base station for 2-3 days and we have got a precise coordinate. Now we know that what is the coordinate of exact coordinate of this particular location of base station, irrespective of the error you are getting at that particular time. Because we have kept it for 3 days, we have got the static data over here, we have logged it and fixed it, and now we are doing the RTK survey. Now I know the precise coordinate irrespective of the error generated from the satellite in that particular moment or period, right? So now what happens is your satellite transmits some data, you have some limitations over here, there is some atmospheric errors and blah blah blah, whatever errors were there, and you know that the data was sent at maybe some time, and this particular device is located at X and Y coordinate. You know the precise X and Y coordinate of this particular location, right? Through static data or through Survey of India data and your capture. So X and Y of this coordinate is of this particular location. Now that particular time that you are doing a survey, you are not getting precise there because you are having an error, right? So you may get X plus 5 or Y minus 3, some figures. Basically what I mean is the degree decimals or degree minute seconds, maybe some seconds of error is there. X plus 5, Y minus 3, something of that. Now you are moving around with your rover. Now suppose you have a rover attached to your back, like backpack, or maybe you are having a device, rover device, and you are moving, doing a survey some 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers away, or like 100, not 100, like you have to have some cut for it, but say 2, 5, 10 kilometers away. Now your device or rover is having a different coordinate. Again, this might be having some xy, but you don't know about this. You have to calculate it. Here you are getting x plus 30 and y plus 60, right? Some figures, some different coordinates than the precise one that it should have, right? So x and y is not what you are getting. You are getting x plus 30 and y plus 60. So what happens is, since this base is connected to your rover, this will give the correction to your rover. What it will say, by what you are getting is not correct. This is what I am getting now. At this particular time, I am getting an error of this 5 and 3. You need to rectify. So it will inform, or it will rather send the correction data to your rover. So what should be the exact coordinate of this particular rover now? Can anyone tell me? X plus. सर आपको तो आता है, पीछे बोलो क्या होगा? जस्ट सिंपल कैलकुलेट, सिंपल मैथ, प्लस एंड माइनस. प्लस 5, x से प्लस 5 है तो हमको करेक्शन क्या करना पड़ेगा इधर? इधर x प्लस 5 का एरर है, इधर माइनस 3 का एरर है, तो वो क्या करेगा? x से 5 ज्यादा आ रहा है तो 5 बोलेगा कि 5 ज्यादा आ रहा है तो तू 5 कम कर दे, या बोलेगा कि 3 कम आ रहा है तो तू 3 बढ़ा दे. सिंपल एज दैट, राइट? So that corrected coordinate will send over there. कि मुझे या तुझे पता है कि मैं कहाँ खड़ा हूँ, right? तुझे मेरा perfect location पता है, तुझे इसका लोकेशन है, अपना लोकेशन नहीं पता, पर यहाँ से मेरा डिस्टेंस और बेयरिंग ले ले, राइट, और ये करेक्शन दे दे, तो तेरी भी एक्यूरेसी मेरे जैसी हो जाएगी. दैट इज इन जनरल टर्म्स आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट, राइट. सो दैट इज द करेक्शन इट विल गिव यू x minus 5 y plus 3, राइट. क्योंकि वो ज्यादा और उधर कम है, तो उधर बढ़ाना पड़ेगा, उधर कम करना पड़ेगा. So that is the result that you will get. So you will get a precise coordinate like this, what is mentioned, right? X plus 25 and y plus 63 is your precise coordinate. This is x, y, and this is x plus 25 and y plus 63. That is how in general the logic works. And try it, triangulate it. Now, one more step further. Now this is the base system that we have. We have talked about GPS, we have talked about theodolite, we have talked about total stations, right? We have talked about differential GPS and its limitation to your base. Again, you don't find an ideal condition, or you need two devices, two costly devices to do these calculations. So what to do? Everyone cannot afford to have such kind of a hefty price attached to such devices, or cannot purchase, this kind of devices all the time. So, and you have to again limitation, you have every time you move 10 kilometers further, you will have to come back with मेरा base station तो लेने जाना पड़ेगा, वो तो चालू वहाँ पे है. मे भी एक बंदे को, हमारा practical case में तो हमको एक बंदा बिठाना पड़ता है, right? That at least one team, like one of the team members, one person I had, and I asked them to sit beside the base station. What is the reason for that? Huh? Exactly. Point हली ना जाए is a practical good answer. બીજું ચોરી ના થઈ જાય. તમે અહીંયા મૂકી 5-10 લાખ ઇન્સ્ટ્રુમેન્ટ મૂકીને 10 કિલોમીટર દૂર જતા રહેશે તો કોઈ બી લઈ લેશે. એમને તો ખબર પણ નહીં હોય, પણ અસર દેખાશે સરસ કે ઓકે મળ્યું છે, ચલો ને, રાઈટ. બીજું પોઈન્ટ હલી ના જાય એ પણ સાચું છે. ગાય ભેંસ આપણે તો બધું કેટલું બધું આવતું હોય છે, રાઈટ. પશુઓ બધા કોઈ ડેમેજ કરી દે, ભટકાઈ જાય, the herd of flocks goes, they don't care about this thing, वो तो उड़ा देगा सब जो रास्ते में है. So for both reasons. तो suppose wouldn't it be good if you don't have a base at all? हम सिर्फ रोवर लेके काम करें, हम सिर्फ इससे काम करें और हमको फिर भी मिलीमीटर लेवल की एक्यूरेसी मिली तो कैसा रहेगा? That is what our experts have already done. What they have done is they have created a network of base stations themselves. लाइका अगेन बहुत सारी कंपनियां हैं, पर काफी सारी कंपनियां लाइका ने ही वो कोर स्टेशन रखे हुए हैं. सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया ने अभी फॉरेन में भी है, हमारे उसमें भी इम्प्लीमेंट हो चुका है ऑल ओवर इंडिया में. तो दैट इज कॉल्ड कोर्स स्टेशन, CORS, कोर्स स्टेशन, राइट. और कंटिन्यूअसली ऑपरेटेड रेफरेंस स्टेशन टू नेम इट, राइट. तो what it means, it's network of base stations, you can put it that way. तो ये बेस स्टेशन उन्होंने हर कुछ 60-70 किलोमीटर पे से उन्होंने अपने नेटवर्क के हिसाब से इंस्टॉल कर दिए. सो नाउ यू आर फ्री ऑफ बेस स्टेशन. नाउ आई कैन यूज बोथ माय डिवाइसेस एज अ रोवर. आई डोंट रिक्वायर अ बेस स्टेशन. व्हाट आई रिक्वायर इज अ सब्सक्रिप्शन और एक्सेस टू दोस continuously operated reference stations, course, right, or network of RTK stations that other companies have. तो अभी the next call, ये अभी का कॉन्सेप्ट, ये इंडिया में अभी एक कोर्स स्टेशन की अगर हम बात करें तो अभी जस्ट शुरू हुआ. I mean, as far as I know, लाइका का जो शायद हफ्ता नहीं 10-15 दिन हुआ. This is that new to us, right? Again, चाइना और कुछ कंपनीज आई एम नॉट गुड कोड, उन्होंने पहले ही बना दिया था अपना. क्वालिटी आई एम नॉट श्योर, बट अपना, I mean, it's not very bad. Of course, when I say that quality not sure, it's not very bad. Just not as precise as Laika's or Survey of India, maybe. और उन्होंने पहले ही कर दिया था. और ये हमारा अभी यहाँ पे शायद 15-20 दिन हुआ है, maybe month or so, कि वो कोर्स स्टेशन हो गए. So what Survey of India has done is that it has provided you with all these base stations, and told us that now you don't require a base station. Just take our subscription. All our core stations are free to you once you subscribe. So the subscription cost is around like 5,000 rupees a month. For surveyors, it's not a big, it's a very nominal price, right? Weekly है तो भी मुझे नहीं पता है, I am not trying weekly. 5,000 rupees a month I know, और annual subscription भी है, and like different ranges of it. So now you have a core station of network of stations. So you just need a base instead of, this is again a radio mode, you can say internet mode. Again there are two systems. One is your radio mode, irrespective of where you are moving. Like suppose आप coastal area में गए हो, where there is no network, no towers, this won't work. उसके लिए आपको लोकल स्टेशन ही लेना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि आपका पास खुद बेस और रोवर का कनेक्टिविटी करना पड़ेगा. तो उसमें आप इंटरनेट बेस अगर करना चाहो तो इंटरनेट का डेटा नहीं मिलेगा, तो आपका वो कोर स्टेशन का कुछ काम नहीं आएगा. सो यू विल हैव टू स्विच बैक टू योर ट्रेडिशनल जीपीएस सिस्टम व्हिच इज कॉल्ड रेडियो मोड. रेडियो मोड में सिर्फ एंटीना चेंज होता है और वो लोकली ट्रांसमिट करता है डेटा. जैसे अभी आगे बताया था कि बेस रोवर को बताएगा कि क्या है, यू कैन कनेक्ट इट टू द सैटेलाइट स्ट्रीम. हियर व्हाट इट विल डू इज the user has a rover with it like this. It does not have a base station anymore like in radio mode. It will have a continuous operated reference system or a base station, and it will get the data. Now for that, in general, what you require, you don't have to understand all these things, right? You just need an internet connection or a subscription to all. That's all you need to do. You have to have you can say caster or server kind of a thing or system which calculates the reading for you, right? That's that protocol, that message, right? It's called entry, right? Entry. That forgetting the network transmitted RTCM via internet protocol. Right? So that's entry. That's basically an entry caster. Every drone companies or something will provide you this thing. Either they are free or they are having a subscription for that as well. So basically it's kind of a server or system which will do the rectification for you. So now you as of today, right, or the past when you only require a rover and you will still be getting a millimeter level accuracy, right? You just need a subscription, that's all. So even the cheaper devices will start getting the same accuracy that a professional person was getting in earlier days. So now you don't require.
Physically, we have in the survey we have base stations, but in the subscription, what is there at every 60, 70 kilometers?
They have a base station. You just don't know the location.
They have base stations.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. These core stations are continuously operated references. When you talk about this thing, it basically general terms आप समझ लो बेस स्टेशन है आपके लिए. आपने बेस स्टेशन लगाए, रोवर लेके आप काम कर रहे हो. अब मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ कि आप बेस स्टेशन, आप बोलोगे बेस स्टेशन तो 5-10 लाख का आता है, इतना तो कौन खर्चा करे. मैं आपको बोलता हूँ मेरे पास पैसा है, मैं आपके लिए 100 बेस स्टेशन बना देता हूँ, है ना. आप अपना बेस स्टेशन मत इस्तेमाल कर, आप मुझे थोड़ा सा पैसा दे दो, टोकन मनी या जो सब्सक्रिप्शन है 5,000 रुपये में आपका काम हो जाए. आप सारी जिंदगी 24 घंटे तो काम करने वाले हो नहीं. एक प्रोजेक्ट है, मे भी आप 1 महीना काम करोगे, सर्वे हो में भी कंटिन्यूसली काम करोगे, तो फिर भी जरूरी है कि आप 24 घंटा काम करो और सारी चीजें उठा के जानी. दिस इज नॉट लाइक सो स्मॉल इंस्ट्रूमेंट. व्हाट द वन व्हिच आई हैव ब्रॉट, बड़ी 2 बैग होगी, ट्राइपॉड्स होंगे, ऐसे मतलब ना एक थोड़ा हेल्दी आदमी चाहिए अगर सब उठा के जाना है तो, राइट.
फिजिकली स्टेशन वहाँ पे होगा, पर लेकिन लोकेशन हमको मालूम नहीं है.
आपको पता चलेगा, आपका डेटा तो कैप्चर करेगा, मतलब आपको खुद को यूजुअली नहीं पता कि वो वहाँ पे है. कोऑर्डिनेट्स तो आपको सारे मिलते जाएंगे, आपका रिसीवर तो रिसीव करेगा ही, क्योंकि उसको करेक्शन करना है, तो वी नीड टू हैव. और जैसे अब यहाँ पे आप गए, नाउ दिस हैज अ लिमिटेशन कि आपका बेस है और 10-15 किलोमीटर तक आप जा सकते हो. आइडियली तो 5-6 किलोमीटर का रेडियो मोड में जाते हो तो, राइट. अगर इंटरनेट मोड में जाते हो या सिम मोड में जाते हो या एंट्री मोड में जाते हो तो आप 50-60-30-35 किलोमीटर या 50-60 किलोमीटर तक जाते हो. बट अगेन हियर व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि आपका बेस स्टेशन है, आपका बेस स्टेशन है, आपका रोवर है, और आपका डेटा सैटेलाइट के साथ साथ सिम कार्ड से भी जो रेफरेंस स्टेशन बनाए हैं जिस कंपनी ने, जैसे लाइका के, उसके साथ भी कनेक्टेड होकर आपको रेंज बढ़ा देता है, क्योंकि सिम से वो टावर के भी कोऑर्डिनेट्स लेता रहता है. So it's good, kind of an assisted system or an additional reference points that you get for post processing. तो आपका रेंज बढ़ जाता है. Now suppose आपको पूरे इंडिया में सर्वे करने जाना है, आप मैक्सिमम 30 किलोमीटर गए या 50-60 किलोमीटर गए, ठीक, तो आपको वापस आके बेस स्टेशन उठाना पड़ेगा, फिर वापस उसको लेके जाओ 60 किलोमीटर दूर रखो, फिर वापस आगे करो. काइंड ऑफ थिंग. रेफरेंस स्टेशन में पूरे इंडिया में उन्होंने जहाँ एस्टैब्लिश किए थे, मे बी सम vacuums, you know, some pockets having the gaps or something like it, but ideal condition पे मान लो हर जगह पे उन्होंने बना दिया, हर सिटी में तो आ ही गया है, राइट, मेजर एरियाज में. तो आपको कुछ नहीं करना, आप बस पॉइंट लेते जाओ, पॉइंट ले, यहाँ से गए यहाँ 60 किलोमीटर 100 किलोमीटर, वो रेफरेंस स्टेशन बदलता रहेगा, जहाँ से वो क्लोजेस्ट होगा वहाँ से इसका एंट्री मैसेज जो आएगा, तो वो उसका मैसेज रीड करके वो जो बेस स्टेशन है करीब में वो कनेक्ट करता जाएगा और वो रीडिंग लेता जाएगा और रेक्टिफिकेशन वो वहाँ से मिल जाएगा उसको बेस स्टेशन। तो आपको बस एक रोवर लेके सर्वे करना है और कुछ नहीं करना, एंड दैट वुड कॉस्ट यू ओनली 5000 रुपीज अ मंथ, और आपका 5-10 लाख का खर्चा बच जाता है, राइट। तो आपको सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया में वहाँ पे अप्लाई करना होता है, वहाँ से वो आपको अपना डिवाइस, यू नो द टेक्निकल थिंग दैट दे आस्क, यू नो क्या काम है और उससे फिर वो आपको दे देंगे, कोई इशू नहीं है। तो उससे आपका काफी सारा वक्त भी बच जाता है, खर्चा भी बच जाता है, राइट, और एंड इट्स ईज ऑफ यूज, राइट, कि कन्वीनियंटली आपको सब कुछ हो जाता है काम जल्दी से। तो दैट इज व्हाट दिस मींस, राइट। तो कोर्स is a new technology which is just implemented in India 2 months back, and we can make use of it. So your surveyors can do it, you can do it, you can save a lot of money, right, having a same precision of millimeter level, but you only need to purchase one base, right. That still needs to be explored के सस्ता और वैसा बेस भी ले ले जो रीजनेबली गुड एक्यूरेसी देता है, उससे भी हमको मिलीमीटर लेवल एक्यूरेसी मिलता है कि नहीं, इट्स नॉट लाइक कंपनी इंडिपेंडेंट, राइट, लाइक लो ट्रिम्बल लो, नो बहुत सारी अदर कंपनीज आर आल्सो देयर, कुड बी लो, यू कैन डू एंड एक्सप्लोर एक्यूरेसी क्या मिलता है। तो वन लास्ट अगेन there is few things again that once you have purchased this thing, again when you purchase you need to understand there are different frequencies to it, L1, L2 and alpha. I'm not becoming very technical, right? किसी को तो जो कर रहा है उनको तो इंटरेस्ट होगा, सबको मुझे नहीं पता, it's okay ना, क्या I should keep all these things just for knowledge, मतलब समझ भी ना एटलीस्ट टर्मिनोलॉजी लिख दो कि ऐसा कुछ है, मे बी इन फ्यूचर यू विल एटलीस्ट नो L1 L5 तो कुछ तो बोला था, राइट। तो यू कैन दैट टाइम यू इट वुड बी अ सरप्राइज टू यू, राइट। हाँ हमको पता है कुछ तो था, लेट मी जस्ट चेक इट, यू नो, ओवर द टाइम। एनीहाउ सो okay, we have reached this thing. Now there are different frequencies. So basically L1 is the oldest frequency, right, which every instrument, even our mobile devices have, even now recent devices, smartphones have dual frequency as well. Some of them uses L1 and L5 or L1 and L2 as well, right. So the frequency of L1 was like 1575 something, some hertz basically. L2 is having some hertz and L5 is having lower frequency hertz. So L1 basically, since it's an oldest one, every chip can read it, right? Accuracy, however, is little lower than the L2 one, and considerably lower than the L5. And L5 is the recent one, still in an infant stage, you know. थोड़ा अभी बहुत सारा रिसर्च बाकी है L5 में, but it is already there, available to all the devices, and it's far more accurate and far more penetrable than L1 frequencies, right? So basically L1 is, again there are two kinds of code, P code and CA code. CA code is coarse code which is used for general public, open to public, and P code are precise codes for military purposes. So there is again, you know, different these things. So and L2, since it allows better travel, as it's mentioned, this allows the signal to better travel through the obstacles such as cloud, trees, building. It is used as a dual band, and it will give you a better accuracy when you have a trees and canopy covers and building urban setup and all those things, right? It will, if you have L1 and L2 as well, L2 will give you a little more accuracy than the device having only L1. That's what most of mobile probably has. L5 has far better transportation, far more power to it, and very less frequency, I suppose, use of frequency, which has a better penetration power to it. So it is even better than L2, but it's still in a development stage or something which we need to explore, right? But all our DGPS system has the capability of collecting L5 data as well. So if you have to purchase, if someone talks about, you know, what to purchase, what not to purchase, you know, then you should know these are actually a subscription based thing again, right? Or maybe some chipset doesn't have L5 guys. If you go, so if you have purchased that 5 lakh का instrument, just something, you know, सब मोबाइल एक से दिखते हैं, किसमें क्या चिपसेट है, क्या कैमरा, if you don't know, किसी ने बोला कि नहीं ये तो सस्ता है 30,000 में ले लो, राइट, आपने खरीद लिया, फिर पता चलेगा वो उसमें तो ये टेलीफोटो तो है ही नहीं, अल्ट्रा वाइड तो है ही नहीं, राइट, सेम थिंग, लुक्स में सब सेम होगा. तो इफ यू हैव परचेज्ड अ DGPS बट यू डोंट नो दैट इट डज नॉट carry L5 frequency, then as of today maybe future proof system kind of a thing, you may have to suffer later on. So at least मैंने इसलिए बताया कि आप भले इस सब में ना पढ़ो, पर अगर आपकी कोई कंपनी बनती है, आप जिस कंपनी में हो, राइट, गवर्नमेंट जैसे, अगर कहीं पे कोई पूछता है कि भाई क्या ले करके, बिकॉज मैनी टाइम्स आई एम आल्सो इनटू जियोमेटिक्स, एनवायरनमेंट साइड, मे बी आई एम नॉट लाइक गुड इन एवरीथिंग, बट आई नो व्हाट माय कंपनी नीड्स, आई नो मैं क्या खरीदूंगा, सबसे ज्यादा रिटर्न मिलेगा, मेरा इन्वेस्टमेंट सबसे ज्यादा फायदा कारक कहाँ होगा. तो मुझे अगर L1, L2, L5, मैंने भी जब लाइका लिया था इनिशियल से, आई वाज ऑफर्ड ऑल दिस थिंग एंड दिस कॉस्ट अगेन 3-4 लाख, इज नॉट चीप, राइट. L1, L2 मिल जाता है, L5 लोगे तो 4 लाख और देना पड़ेगा, 5 लाख और देना पड़ेगा. आई हैव हैड अ लेजर डिस्टो 5 लाख, तब जब मेरा कैपेसिटी दोनों में से एक लेने का था, अभी 2 रख दिया है, और तब ऑप्शन था. आई जस्ट रियलाइज बिकॉज आई वाज लिटिल इनटू दिस थिंग, रिसर्च किया था मैंने कि एक बार का इन्वेस्टमेंट है, रोज रोज मैं 10-15 लाख तो नहीं कर पाऊंगा, राइट. ये मैंने वही सोचा कि L1 का सब चिपसेट वो बोलते हैं देते हैं, तो L1 L5 मैंने सोचा कि मैं बाद में भी खरीद सकता हूँ. डिस्टो जो अभी दिखाऊं, दैट डिस्टो इटसेल्फ कॉस्ट लाइक 5.5 lakhs. उसमें भी लेजर रेंज फाइंडर है, कैमरा है, राइट, और जैसे आपका टोटल स्टेशन अगेन है आर ऑफ 2 टाइप्स, वन जहाँ पे प्रिज्म लेके करते हैं, वन इज प्रिज्मलेस, इफ यू नो अबाउट इट, जहाँ पे आपको लेजर रेंज का फाइंड, आपको प्रिज्म लेके बंदा ऐसा खड़ा नहीं रहेगा, क्रॉस है लेके ट्राइपॉड अपने रखा, टोटल स्टेशन रखा, और वो लेजर शूट करे और वहां का रीडिंग यहाँ पे डिस्टेंस और बैरिंग कैलकुलेट करके वो दे देगा. सिमिलरली मेरे GS 18 में भी वो है, एंड दैट्स ए हार्डवेयर. इफ आई हैड इन्वेस्टेड दैट टाइम ऑन अ सॉफ्टवेयर, राइट, कि इसका चिपसेट ओपन करूं, मैं 5 लाख ज्यादा देता हूं, मैं 17 लाख में से 5 लाख L5 चाहिए, L5 अभी भी नहीं इतना अच्छा है, तो मैंने L5 लिया होता, और मैंने डिस्टो वाला रेंज फाइंडर वाला वो है टॉप एंड नहीं लिया होता, मैं उसको चेंज नहीं कर सकता. मैं L5 लेके घूमता रहूंगा जिसका कोई अभी ज्यादा यूटिलिटी नहीं है, और जो मुझे एक्चुअली चाहिए था वो मुझे कभी मिलता ही नहीं. एंड इफ आई वाज दिस टेक्निकल, मैंने रिसर्च किया तो मैंने डिस्टो वाला पहले लिया कि रेजर हार्डवेयर वो मैं पहले खरीदूंगा तो वो चेंज नहीं कर पाऊँ. ये 5 लाख कभी भी फ्यूचर में आएगा ना, तो 5 साल के बाद भी लॉ अनलॉक ही करना है, तो मैं कर सकता हूँ. So that is what I'm telling. So that is why I become this technical, because it's my own investment in all these things, right? So I'm able to explain it to you because I have done a lot of research, working, need. और ये आपके लिए भी अच्छा है because people fool, since you are engineers, there would be a team working, under you. If you are not technically sound, even as a geomatic, or a planner, whosoever, you are, people or team works under you. And if you don't know by what time your analysis takes to get completed, what things your system has a capability of surveyor आएगा, this is common habit all over the world, not India, right? Surveyor आएगा सर वो तो नहीं हो रहा है, वहाँ पे तो disturbance है. If you know about all this technical, you can say you're bluffing, और या तेरी ही गलती है, वो तो हो ही रहा है. यहाँ पे मैंने भी चेक किया है, होता है. वो एनालिसिस अब आपको जियोमेटिक्स के कुछ आते हैं, मे बी ग्राउंड वाटर मॉडलिंग, समथिंग लाइक दैट. Before 2 weeks of your this knowledge gain in GIS, right? If someone would have told you कि नहीं वो हाइड्रोजोलॉजी मॉडल वो तो 1-1.5 महीना लगता है, बहुत डेटा चाहिए और पॉसिबल ही नहीं है, उसमें तो सर ये एरर आती है, मैडम ये एरर आता है, आपको पता होता तो मैं बता दूं, क्या एक्सप्लेन करूं, आपको समझ ही नहीं है, तो फिर आप बोलोगे कि कम हियर, आई शो यू, I know what error you are generating, it's your mistake, or you don't fool me. ये मैंने भी किया हुआ है, ये 3 दिन का काम है, don't say that 10 दिन का काम है. So एक बार भी आपने परफॉर्म किया, आपको आना चाहिए. आपको सारी जिंदगी काम नहीं करना है. As an engineer, maybe you will be like working or doing a conceptual this thing or working on planning a concept, higher things, but आपके टीम आपको बेवकूफ नहीं बना पाएगी. And this is how the company collapses. At times when you don't have a good worker, जो passionate नहीं है अपने काम का, when you are not hired a right person, वो सारे जैसे आप बाहर भागोगे ना, वो इधर जाएगा, वो मोबाइल, वो पिक्चर देखने बैठ जाएगा, म्यूजिक देखेगा. Maybe it's not wrong, right? But जो time deadline दिया है, person has to complete it on time. I say it in my company the same thing, right? मूवी देखो, पिक्चर देखो, आई डोंट वांट टू बोर यू एंड यू नो पुट इट लाइक 10 to 6 जॉब काइंड ऑफ थिंग, कुछ भी करो। और अगर मुझे 2 हफ्ते में अगर कोई रिपोर्ट चाहिए तो 2 हफ्ते में जॉब सुबह आओ, घर पे लेके जाओ। आई डोंट हैव डेस्कटॉप इन माय दिस थिंग, नाउ एवरीवन हैज लैपटॉप, मेरे ऑफिस में भी सारे लैपटॉप्स हैं, तो मैं उनको बोल लैपटॉप जाओ घर लेके जाओ। आई डोंट वांट टू स्टे एंड यू नो कीप स्टेयरिंग एट मी ऑल द टाइम। घर जाओ, मेरा भी ओवरहेड बच जाएगा, राइट। मुझे 2 हफ्ते के बाद अगर 12 तारीख को नहीं मिला, then you are in trouble। 12 तारीख तक तुमको जो करना है करो। आई वांट माय प्रिसीजन, आई वांट माय क्वालिटी व्हिच यू नो, करो। बट फिर आपको पता होना चाहिए 2 हफ्ते का काम है। समटाइम अदरवाइज यू विल बिकम अ बॉसी, यू नो। कहीं पे अब जैसे मैंने अभी बोला और आपने सुन लिया और आप बोलोगे हाँ ये तो 2 हफ्ते का काम है, आपने उसको मतलब यू नो धमका दिया, यू नो कि 2 हफ्ते, और उसको एक्चुअली वो 2 हफ्ते का ना भी और 3-4 हफ्ते का, और आपने उसको ऐसे मजबूर कर दिया कि वो उसका ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ जाएगा कि अब मैं कैसे करूँ, एंड दे थिंक यू आर बॉसी पर्सन, और या तो वो छोड़ देगा या वो खुद कोलैप्स हो जाएगा, राइट। एंड यू मे बी क्वालिटी विल वेरी, राइट। तो इसीलिए थोड़ा
ये L1, L2 और L5 के बाद में A, B, C
वो आपका कोड होता है, वो आपका जैसे जीपीएस सिस्टम्स के कॉन्स्टेलेशंस के साथ कनेक्टेड होता है, उस हिसाब से उनको कोड जनरेट किया है। बट बेसिकली इन जनरल यही सब होता है। जैसे बीडू है या यूरोपियन यूनियन है तो उसने ई फाइल लिखा होगा, तो दीज आर जस्ट टर्मिनोलॉजीज, बट बेसिकली फ्रीक्वेंसीज आर द वन व्हिच इट मेंशन्ड ओवर हियर कि L5 है तो इट यूजुअली वर्क्स अंडर दिस फ्रीक्वेंसी, राइट। सो यू जस्ट नीड टू वरी अबाउट ऑल दोस थिंग्स। बाकी तो L1C जो कमर्शियल मोड में होगा या सेकंड जनरेशन है तो वो उस हिसाब से उसमें वो कोड डाले होंगे, तो दैट्स जस्ट अ कोडिंग पर्पस। और मे बी थोड़ा कुछ बहुत टेक्निकल होंगे तो अंदर कुछ वेरिएशन होगा, बट मोर और लेस दिस इज द थिंग दैट यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड इट, राइट। Okay, so I'll just conclude. I'll just give you a brief about GPS system handheld अभी जो है, जो आप रेगुलर केस में शायद यूज करोगे ऑन दी फ्लाई, तुरंत शायद बाहर जाके भी, या जस्ट क्या क्या चीजें होनी चाहिए आप जो भी सॉफ्टवेयर इंस्टॉल करो, जस्ट मेक श्योर यू हैव लाइक 5-6 पेजेस टू इट। जब मैंने अभी जो जीपीएस एसेंशियल बोला ना, उसमें आपको शायद ये 5-6 पेज मिल जाएंगे। मे बी डिजाइन वुड हैव, द यूजर इंटरफेस वुड बी डिफरेंट, बट मोर और लेस आपके पास जैसे मेन मेन्यू होता है, मेन मेन्यू स्टिल फाइन, यू शुड हैव अ कंपास, you should have a satellite health, you should have the map, you should maybe you have it or not, but you should have this topography, ये शायद कहीं में नहीं होता है। You should have this pedo, this is another map, this tracking, this is actually trail, this is a map 3 मीटर जहाँ पे आपने मैंने बताया ना velocity, time to you know reach to your destination, blah blah blah, blocks रहेंगे, elevation रहेगा, odometer रहेगा, एक ये होना चाहिए वे पॉइंट जो आप रेगुलर केस में वे पॉइंट लेते हो, राइट। तो एक ऐसा कुछ होगा। ये बहुत पुराना गार्मिन का एक फोटो था, आई यूज्ड इट व्हेन आई यूज्ड इट फर्स्ट, आई हैड दिस थिंग, सो आई जस्ट फॉर माय मेमोरी आई हैव कैप्ट इट। अभी तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं आता है, यू जस्ट टिक एंड वे पॉइंट विल बी जनरेटेड और आप ट्रेन अगर कर सकते हो। ये 6-7 पेज आपके होने जरूरी है, तो आपको कुछ भी चेक करना है तो ज्यादातर इसमें से मिल जाएगा। I'll move little fast. There's something which is called time to first fix, ये हम अभी नहीं जाएंगे ये सब इसमें, बेसिकली टाइम टू फर्स्ट पिक इट बेसिकली असिस्टेड जीपीएस है। एक कोल्ड सेटअप रहता है जहाँ एलिमिनेट डेटा जो पता है कि सारे सैटेलाइट्स का कॉन्स्टेलेशन ट्रैक करेगा कि आपके हेमिस्फीयर में ऊपर ओवरहेड में क्या क्या है। तो टाइम टू फर्स्ट पिक कोल्ड सेटअप रहेगा, फिर वार्म सेटअप रहेगा, हॉट फिक्स रहेगा जहाँ पे आपका प्रिसीजन मिल जाएगा। वार्म तो आप जनरल लिख दो टाइम टू फर्स्ट पिक कोल्ड सेटअप में जो पहला एक बेसिक सेटअप मिल जाएगा, Eliminate data मिलेगा which repeats itself at every 12.5. Eliminate data as I told you, it's location of all the satellites, a constellation कि कहाँ पे कितने satellites हैं वो आपको, जैसे यहाँ पे अगर ये AC है तो आपको सारे AC के locations पता है, कितना ठंडा कर रहा है वो नहीं पता है, पर AC का location मिल गया आपको कि भाई यहाँ आपके मेरे सर के ऊपर 5 AC है, राइट। फिर warm setup जहाँ पे आपको एफिमरीज डेटा मिलता है, मतलब हर एसी आपको डेटा देगा कि भाई ओके मैंने 26 पे रखा है, वो बोलेगा मेरा 22 पे है, मेरा 23 पे है, तो मेरा सबसे बढ़िया है काइंड ऑफ थिंग। तो हेल्थ ऑफ दैट एक्चुअली दैट्स वार्म सेटअप एंड देन एवरीथिंग इज फिक्स्ड, यू नो दैट्स योर सब्सिक्वेंट हॉट एंड स्टैंड बाय मोड व्हिच विल गिव यू अ प्रिसाइज एक्यूरेसी कि आपको मिलीमीटर लेवल में भी वो सबका सिंक्रोनाइजेशन प्रॉपर हो गया और वो हो गया। सो आई जस्ट फॉर डिस्प्ले, आई मीन आई जस्ट नॉट मूव वन बाय वन। मेन पेज जो दिखा था ना वो ये टैब्स है, मैप पेज है, कंपास है, ट्रिप है और उस पेजेस डिफरेंट गो टू। और एक मैंने स्लाइड रखा था व्हाट इट मींस वे पॉइंट्स, मतलब सिप पॉइंट्स, एक थोड़ा एनिमेशन जैसा रखा था जिसको अगर नहीं मतलब पूरा पता है, तो सिर्फ पॉइंट्स अगर हम लेते हैं जहाँ पे हम पिन पॉइंट करते हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड वे पॉइंट इन टेक्निकल टर्म्स। तो आप जीपीएस में बात करोगे तो वो वे पॉइंट्स कहलाते हैं, राइट। एंड देयर इज समथिंग व्हिच इज कॉल्ड गो टू, जैसे अभी हम करते हैं ना कि हम दोस्त के घर गए या यूनिवर्सिटी ट्रैक किया, दैट्स कॉल्ड गो टू, ए टू बी, राइट, स्ट्रेट लाइन, दैट्स गो टू। How many of you have LTE version? अगर ये just engineers हो तो शायद मेरे से ज़्यादा बताओ। New technology again. Okay, just for your knowledge, आजकल जो watches आती है ना, there are two versions again. One is your Bluetooth enabled, one is your LTE. If those of you doesn't know about LTE version, it's kind of a mobile. eSIM, दो सिम आते हैं, फिजिकल सिम जो आप छोटा बड़ा जो भी है वो इंसर्ट करते हो, and another which is called eSIM, which is already inbuilt, right? You don't have to install it, just service providers change कर। तो आप eSIM जब करते हो ना, then you have got two options. One, you can have a eSIM that what I have in my mobile, and another same number eSIM में है मेरे मोबाइल में वॉच। तो मेरा अगर ये मोबाइल बंद भी है, खो भी गया, right? My watch will still work as a phone. मैं यहाँ से फोन भी कर सकता हूँ, ब्लूटूथ से कनेक्टेड नहीं, अभी करीब है तो है, पर बंद भी कर दिया तो यू कैन यूज दैट। और गार्मिन की तरह आपका इसमें भी वो कनेक्टिविटी इंटरनेट से इसी में तो मिल जाएगा, और आप मैप और वो सब इसमें कर सकते हो। दिस इज लाइक सिंक विथ माय दिस थिंग एज वेल, जीपीएस। तो इसमें से आपको सीधा लोकेशन ए टू बी जो भी मैं दिखा रहा हूँ ना, आई कैन एक्चुअली डू इट ओवर हियर, एंड आई हैव डन इट, एंड दैट वे आई हैव इंस्टॉल्ड इट एंड परचेज्ड दिस। इट्स अ रीसेंट परचेज ओनली, बट बेसिकली मे बी you can see the good part is that you can, I don't know, see, so you can giving me precise location, I can check for the services and you know everything over there. GPS signal नहीं आ रहा है क्योंकि हम अंदर अभी है, वो ऐसा बता रहा है, but I can zoom in, जैसे zoom out करके भी कर सकता हूँ, सिर्फ डायरेक्ट zoom in zoom out और सारा। तो मेरा जो रोड पे मैं जाता हूँ तो कई टाइम मुझे मोबाइल नहीं देखना होता, I can just drive and I can see it over here as well, so it's very good that way, just for your those who are techno persons. Anyhow, तो A to B रूट। नाउ हमने सिर्फ A to B की बात की, अब ये रूट है, बहुत सारे वे पॉइंट्स अब सबको कनेक्ट करके भी हमको सीधा यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं जाना है, मुझे अपने दोस्त को भी लेके जाना है, एक और दोस्त को भी लेके जाना है, ब्ला ब्ला, तो एक रूट बनाया न्यू, राइट, गो, दैट्स रूट, राइट। ट्रैक, राइट, यू हैव ऑलरेडी गॉट अ ट्रैक फ्रॉम समवन, आप किसी हाइकिंग में गए हो, साइकिलिंग में गए हो, किसी ने ऑलरेडी एक रूट बना के दिया है आपको कि भाई इस रूट से जाओगे तो आपको सबसे बढ़िया रूट मिलेगा, कहीं कोई इशू नहीं आएगा, वो भी नहीं जाओगे, राइट। तो आप वो ट्रैक लोड करो और उसको फॉलो करो, दैट्स कॉल्ड ट्रैक मोड, राइट। दिस एक्चुअली if you are doing a survey or if you are working in the field, you will require it. Me as a hydrogeologist, you know, I have faced a lot of problem when I go in the field. मैं कच्छ में भी गया था just last year, you know, अभी they say that world's or Asia's largest solar park आ रहा है खावड़ा में। तो I had worked done a hydrogeological survey for GEC, अपने क्या बोलते हैं, गुजरात engineering this thing, you know, GEC, not ecology, I forgot the term, electrical so basically मैंने अभी याद नहीं आ रहा है, अब उसके लिए गया था। Now what is the little run of कच्छ में वो है, राइट, गुजरात इलेक्ट्रिकल बोर्ड, इलेक्ट्रिक जो अपना कुछ है ना, जीईसी ऐसा। सो एनीहाउ मे बी इसका और ऑर्डर होगा, एनीहाउ वी लीव दैट पार्ट। तो वहां पे गया था। नाउ व्हाट हैपेंड वाज, वहां पे बीएसएफ और सबका वहां पे कोई काइंड ऑफ नो मैंस लैंड क्लोज टू दैट, राइट, और पाकिस्तान बॉर्डर पे। तो मैं मेरी टीम वहां पे गई थी एज हाइड्रोजियोलॉजिकल सर्वे टीचिंग किया था वो सारा, लेकिन वी आर सिंस इट्स अ रन एरिया एंड क्लोज टू अ कोस्ट दिस थिंग पाकिस्तान बॉर्डर एंड बीएसएफ के कंट्रोल में, वी आर नॉट सपोज्ड टू टेक एनी मोबाइल्स विद अस, वी आर नॉट अलाउड। आप सर्वे इंस्ट्रूमेंट लेके जाओ, करना है तो सर्वे उस हिसाब से करो एंड यू कैन कैरी go in a car or something like that to some point, और फिर डेजर्ट है तो कार आगे जा भी नहीं पाएगी, कहीं ना कहीं तो आपको रख देना पड़ेगा, वरना वो दस जाती है। कई लोगों का हमने भी फेस किया, वो फंस गया था हमारे दूसरे जो लेके गए थे। आई फॉलो दैट पाथ। व्हाट हैपेंड वाज मैंने अभी मुझे एक्चुअली इसी से वो याद आया वो, क्योंकि मैंने अपनी टीम को भेजा था कि आप पहले सर्वे करो, और वो 10 दिन बहुत परेशान हो गए, राइट। फिर मैंने उनको झंडे लगाने का बोला कि जहाँ जहाँ आपको लगता है कि रूट अच्छा है, जहाँ मुझे सर्वे करने आना है, आप मार्किंग कर दो और एक जीपीएस से ट्रैक बना दो, राइट। अब वो करेंगे कैसे, अलाउड है नहीं, तो हमने बीएसएफ में, आई मीन आई डोंट नो, इट्स नॉट गेटिंग रिकॉर्डेड होगा ना, तो ठीक है। तो बेसिकली क्या है कि हमारे पास एटलीस्ट डीजीपीएस सिस्टम थे, तो हमने कोऑर्डिनेट्स और वो मार्क करके रखे थे, तो उस हिसाब से फिर हमने वो सिस्टम जो है तो परमिशन वो देते हैं, तो उस हिसाब से हम लेके गए थे और वो किया था, राइट। तो बेसिकली ये ट्रैक उन्होंने बना के रखे थे, तो मेरे पास डीजीपीएस से सर्वे करना था, तो मेरे पास वो कोऑर्डिनेट्स, तो मैं उसी हिसाब से गया था, और जहाँ मुझे लगा गाड़ी रख देनी चाहिए, चलते जाना पड़े, तो वो चलते जाके हो सब किया, तो दैट हेल्प मी। तो दिस काइंड ऑफ सिस्टम्स इट एक्चुअली हेल्प। और जहाँ जहाँ मान लो कि ऐसे जोन्स नहीं है, और मान लो कि आप कहीं ऐसे जंगल वाले एरिया में जा रहे हो, या ऐसे कोई आउटस्कर्ट्स में जा रहे हो, तो आपको ये सब अगर पता है तो ये सब सिस्टम मोबाइल में आप इंस्टॉल करो, तो आपके लिए ये बहुत अच्छा है। तो आपका बहुत सारा प्रॉब्लम, रात को कहीं खो नहीं जाओगे, कहीं डेविएट नहीं हो पाओगे। अगर आपने बहुत घूम घूम के एक जगह पे पहुंच गया, फिर पता चलता है कि वापस आने का रास्ता खो है, या आप कहीं गलत रास्ता ले लेते हो, राइट। इट्स अ वेरी कॉमन थिंग, और फिर पता चलता है एक छोटा गलत रास्ता कितनी बड़ी मुसीबत खड़ी करता है। तो अगर आपके पास ऐसी कोई हैंडी सिस्टम है, आपको ये सब चीजें पता है और आपने ऑन करके रखा है, देन इट वुड बी फार मोर इजियर फॉर यू। नाउ अभी जैसे अगर ये यहाँ पे मेरा सिस्टम बताओ, तो यहाँ पे जैसे ये है, राइट, माय मोबाइल, आई हैव अ वेरी हैंडी, व्हाई आई सिंपली डू दिस, और ये रिकॉर्ड करना शुरू कर देगा। आई जस्ट सिंपली हैव टू स्वाइप माय 8 बार इन माय सैमसंग डिवाइस, 8 बार किया, स्टार्ट रूट कर दूंगा, वो सारा प्रिसाइज की क्वालिटी बहुत अच्छा है, राइट। वो सारा रूट अपने आप मैप करता जाएगा, आई एम वेरी फ्री, मुझे बस इसको चार्ज रखना है बैटरी से, तो मैं कहीं पे भी चला गया, अगर मुझे वापस आना है तो मुझे दिमाग में वो याद है, वेरी बैड इन डायरेक्शन, राइट। तो मैं सिर्फ इसको ऑन करके ट्रैक बैक का एक ऑप्शन आता है, तो उसी रूट पे आपको वापस लेके आएगा। आपका यहाँ पे भी सिंक है, तो बोलता जाएगा कि राइट लो लेफ्ट लो, जैसे आप गूगल में करते हो ना वैसे, तो आप कहीं खो नहीं जाते। रात को अंधेरा हो जाता है, रास्ता दिखता भी नहीं है, बट स्टिल इट विल हेल्प यू to reach your destination the same route that you travel or you want to travel, right। तो ये ट्रैक लॉग के बाद आपका वो ट्रैकिंग करेगा किसी के ट्रैक लॉग में, और फिर उसमें से वापस आना है तो वो वापस भी उसी रास्ते वो वापस आएगा, राइट। So that is track back function. So always try to see whether your watch or mobile or your system has a track back function. ये actually छोटा सा एक function है, but it's very handy. Not all devices have this, right? Or software have this. Okay, I'll not go into much. It's already like 1 o'clock. कितना टाइम आपका है? Because I have to take something on drone as well. It's only halfway. A technological upgrade, I mean, talking में research करता, there's a lot of things, but we'll not go into all this. It means like your quantum clocks, quantum compass, or mobiles, handsets. How many are you a hams? Anyone of you are hams? Hams is also a good thing. Abhi it's kind of a hobby, but do you know about hams? Drone का हम करेंगे बाद में, but I will have a break. I need to other things. So, but हैम्स का भी जब मैं आया तो हैम्स मुझे याद आया, एमेचर रेडियो जो पुलिस इस्तेमाल करते हैं ना, वॉकी टॉकी, राइट। आई एम अ हैम्स रेडियो ऑपरेटर एज वेल, आई हैव अ लाइसेंस फ्रॉम लाइफ टाइम लाइसेंस विद मी। तो हम क्योंकि फील्ड में जाते हैं, जंगल में जाते हैं, या रन में जाते हैं, ऑल दोस थिंग्स, नॉट ऑल द टाइम वी गेट द टावर, तो हम रेडियो फ्रीक्वेंसीज पे हम रेडियो टावर्स भी लगे होते हैं, हैम्स वाले जो इंजीनियर्स हैं वो सब इंस्टॉल करते हैं, या हम खुद करवाते हैं, हम खुद भी कर सकते हैं एंटीनास, वी कैन यूज इट बेस्ड ऑन अ रेडियो फ्रीक्वेंसी, एंड दैट इज हाउ पुलिस एंड अदर पीपल्स कम्युनिकेट बेस्ड ऑन अ रेडियो फ्रीक्वेंसी। आपका 93.9 एफएम किया तो वही सुनोगे, 93.95 कर दिया तो गायब हो जाएगा। सिमिलरली like we have given a range, मैं अपने किसी भी फ्रेंड को बोल सकता हूँ कि भाई मैं 98.2 में ऑन होने वाला हूँ, ऑन या जाने वाला हूँ, तो 98.2 करेगा तभी वो मुझे सुन पाएगा, वरना वो सुन नहीं पाएगा। आप कई बार देखोगे तो जनरली ये एनक्रिप्टेड मोड में भी आप कर सकते हो, बट कई सारे मैसेजेस होते हैं, इवन पुलिस मैसेजेस एट टाइम्स, यू नो, when earlier when I was just browsing through क्या क्या है and all those things, right, just checking the device कि वो काम कर रहा है कि नहीं, I was able to hear them at times, you know, because those are not encrypted device और इतना sensitive information नहीं होता, तो वो just walkie talkie से एक दूसरे से बात कर लेते हैं, भाई 5 बजे वहाँ पे ये चेक कर लेना, वो चेक कर लेना कि शिफ्ट बदलेगी, फिर आप सुन सकते हो, बट वी आर एक्चुअली नॉट अलाउड टू मूव ऑन टू दोस फ्रीक्वेंट, हमको जो अलॉट किया उसी में हमको रहना है, राइट, एंड मे बी सम डिवाइसेस आर लॉक्ड फॉर दैट आल्सो, बट ये इनिशियल स्टेज में जब टेस्ट करते हो तो हमने चेक किया। सो एनी अदर लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स, अदर थिंग्स, क्वांटम कंपास, जैसे अभी जीपीएस आया तो देयर जीपीएस स्पूफिंग इज आल्सो देयर, राइट, जीपीएस हैकिंग इज आल्सो देयर, सो पीपल हैव केम अक्रॉस न्यू टेक्नोलॉजीज, यू नो, क्वांटम कंपास करके भी है, तो आपका जीपीएस की जरूरत ही नहीं है, तो आप हैक नहीं करोगे, आपको एटम्स के मूवमेंट से आपको वो लोकेशन देता जाएगा। तो अभी जैसे हम कमरे के अंदर भी है, जीपीएस यहाँ पे इतना अच्छा काम नहीं करेगा, बट दोस टेक्नोलॉजीज विल वर्क इन द फ्यूचर। अभी ऑलरेडी लाइक रिसर्च मोड में तो उन्होंने अच्छा रिजल्ट दिया है, जिस कॉमर्शियल मोड में नहीं आया, और डिवाइस बड़े हैं तो मे बी इट्स गोइंग टू टेक सम टाइम, यू नो, बट एनी हाउ, सो दैट्स आई कंक्लूड माय डीजीपीएस चैप्टर, राइट। अभी हम अगर ऐसा है तो थोड़ा फील्ड वर्क कर लेंगे, ड्रोन का भी हमारा बाकी है, ड्रोन वुड बी लिटिल मोर इंटरेस्टिंग, एटलीस्ट नॉट वो शॉर्ट ही मैंने लंबा नहीं रखा है आपका। एक्चुअली मैंने 4 प्रेजेंटेशन बनाया था, डीजीपीएस का, इट हैज टेकन अ सिग्निफिकेंटली लॉन्ग टाइम, ड्रोन का, आपका डीजीपीएस की साइट, सॉरी डीजीसीए, जहां पे आपको ड्रोन रजिस्टर, ड्रोन का जो किया, थोड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग भी होगा, तो आपको जनरल ब्रीफ किया, वो इतना लंबा नहीं, ब्रीफ किया है कि आपको कहाँ पे जाके रजिस्टर करना है, तो आपको अगर ड्रोन सीखना है, ड्रोन का यूज करना है सिविल इंजीनियरिंग में, तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है ड्रोन। मेरे काफी सारे फ्रेंड्स हैं जिनके लिए मैं काम करता हूँ, सिविल इंजीनियर्स, बिल्डर्स, नॉट सिविल इंजीनियर्स, बिल्डर्स, जो मॉनिटरिंग हमसे करवाते हैं फ्रॉम डे टू डे बेसिस और वीकली बेसिस के, कहाँ पे कितना यू नो कंस्ट्रक्शन अपडेट हुआ है या चेंज हुआ है। सो वी डू अ लॉट ऑफ 3D मॉडलिंग फॉर बिल्डर्स एज वेल, जो कंस्ट्रक्शन मोड में, तो अगर आप सब ये एज ए सिविल इंजीनियर में करोगे तो you have a better utility than me working for a builder. If civil engineer knows about all these things and uses the drone technology, it's not very like screen just job, or you know, जैसे DGPS में जाके थक जाओ, I mean drone में भी है, क्योंकि धूप में तो आपको खड़ा रहना पड़ेगा जब तक काम करो, शैडो में भी सकता है, but at least will be out in the field for that duration, you know, एक दिन की है, आधा घंटा 2 घंटा जो भी है, but I have learned that you know civil engineering, building community, environment sector, forestry, सब जगह पे इसका बहुत ज़्यादा काम है। माइनिंग, आई हैव गॉट अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क, यू नो, आई हैव गॉट, यू कैन से आई हैव लाइक डाइवर्टेड फ्रॉम माय हाइड्रोजियोलॉजिकल फील्ड टू एनवायरनमेंट फील्ड, दैट व्हेन इट वाज इन बूम, इट्स स्टिल इन बूम, बट मोर रिसेंटली आई हैव गॉट मोर वर्क्स इन ड्रोन देन इन माय एनवायरनमेंट, एंड इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ क्विक मनी, यू नो, वो कुछ दिमाग लगाना नहीं, तो ड्रोन उड़ा एक बार आ गया, वही सिस्टम फॉलो करो, रिकॉर्ड हो गया, मैप दे दिया, पैसा लेके खत्म। और इंजीनियरिंग में जैसे होता है ना, ये यहाँ पे बग गई, डिवीजन ये चेक करो, वो एक छोटा सा प्रोजेक्ट होगा, पर आप जो काम करोगे ना तो आपको पता चलेगा कहाँ पर है, ये तो बॉस को क्लियर ही नहीं लग रहा है, इसमें आपका कुछ नहीं है, एक दो चीज करना है, ड्रोन उड़ा, सिस्टम तो आपको आ गया, ड्रोन उड़ा, रिकॉर्ड किया, जीएसएम, जीटीएम, ऑर्थोमोजेक बराबर है, वो कोऑर्डिनेट से लिया, खत्म, पैसा मिल जाएगा, काम खत्म हो जाएगा। सिविल इंजीनियरिंग और बिल्डर का आपका जो करना है करो, आप बिल्डर लो, मेरा काम खत्म हो गया, राइट। एंड देन यू विल बी, वो अभी तो मुझे इसका रेजोल्यूशन नहीं पता, सैटेलाइट इमेज को कैसे स्टडी करेंगे नहीं पता, शिफ्ट है कि ये नहीं पता है, राइट। अब मैं क्या करूँगा, मैंने तो उसको पूछा नहीं ये सब, अब वो बताया कि नहीं, उसको स्कोप ऑफ वर्क में नहीं है, और मैं बोलूँगा कि मेरा तो इतना का इतना ही, पैसा तो इतना ही था, लाइक यू नो ह्यूमन मेंटालिटी, मैनी ऑफ यू आर हेल्पफुल, आई मीन वी डू हेल्प, बट कहने का मतलब ऐसे भी होते हैं कि इतने में तो इतना ही करूँगा, मैं क्यों स्ट्रेन करूँगा, मैंने तो बेस अमाउंट दिया था, बहुत पैसा होता है। You come across when you actually work for yourself or big companies, and you come across when you start hiring the consultants, you know, like us, वो परेशान करेंगे, not me, but likewise, you know, just kidding, right, just kidding. But कहने का मतलब आपको पता होना तो अच्छा रहता है कि आपने उस वक्त वो सवाल पूछ के या समझ लिया, तो आप उस हिसाब से उसको काम अलॉट कर सकते हो कि भाई मुझे 5 GST वाला चाहिए या 2 GST वाला रीडिंग चाहिए, ये ड्रोन से मुझे नहीं लेना है, मुझे लीडार से ही लेना पड़ेगा, कैनोपी पावर ज़्यादा है, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, तो आप उस हिसाब से अगर अच्छे से गाइड करोगे ना तो उतने ही पैसे में और आपको अच्छा काम भी मिलेगा और जल्दी एक ही टाइम में मिल जाएगा, वरना 2 बार जाना पड़ेगा, दूसरी बार जाना पड़ेगा, राइट? लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स हैपन एट टाइम्स. Okay, so we'll take a short break and we'll come back again. Right? At least I'll come back again. आपका चाय का ब्रेक कब होता है? लंच ब्रेक ही है ना? तो ठीक. Land it now to give you a warning. Right? So we'll just go with a drone presentation right now. Yesterday I worked a lot to share the RC screen to my laptop and to show it to you, but somehow maybe the graphic card or the resolution is not matching, so it's not getting displayed on the projector right now. But anyhow we can do it. अभी PPT तो हो जाएगा. We have actually prepared a PPT as well. Okay, what I have done right now, I have like 2 or 3 slides presentations. I will be very quick on this thing. This I have just prepared in this morning 10 minutes before we came over here. I just took a stage flight 10 minutes before we started, and I have grabbed those snapshots and photographs to my mobile, and I have prepared a presentation just to show you the demonstration of the step that we will be doing outside, because it may not be possible for 20 persons to see at a time what I am doing it on screen, right? So I have taken I have done a small photogrammetry survey, right? Processing again will take some time, so I have not processed it. I have a separate slide for that, how to process or how to visualize things in a side scan software, right, with GIS. But I'll just give you a brief about what I was doing. This thing, what I did first of all was, or in the conceptual part which every drone does, is that you will link your remote control to your drone. That is the first thing you do, because multiple remotes are capable of getting linked with multiple remotes and drones as well. So there are two things that you primarily do. One is you do a photogrammetry work, or let's say civil engineering, you prepare a 3D models, right? So 3D model, you prepare a mapping map, basically orthomosat. So that all things can be easily done or straightaway done through your software than the drones. Second part is the videography part. For videography part, you should enter the camera mode straight away instead of going to a flight route mode, right? So that is that flight route mode, and this is the camera view mode, which will straight away start your camera in video mode. Then this is for a flight planning right now. I have you enter a video mode and you can straight away fly, and it will show you your video, and you just have to push a button to start the recording, as we all do it mobile. Right? That's the only thing you do in your video mode. In planning mode, however, there is few steps that is involved, right? That steps are, first of all, you need to know your boundaries for any project. So you can either load your boundary which you have prepared it in Google or ArcGIS or whichever software that you have used, right? You should know your boundary and you should upload it as a KML file or a shape file you can upload it over here. It has an option of loading an KML file as well. So even if you have done it in ArcGIS, there is an option to export it in KML file, not KMZ, right? There is a difference between KMZ and KML. You would be using KML, right? You know the difference. What's the difference?
Point vector and alignment column vector.
Google KML files, basically it's just an extension, right? KML okay, I'll not go into the history. KML was actually first developed by Keole markup language by a company called Keole, right? And that was purchased by Google, and then, but since then, it has still continued using the same extension, KML. KMZ is just a zip format of KML, nothing else. KML is like, you are having a shape file and all those things, and once you have zipped it, it's in zip, WinZip or WinRAR format. Similarly, KML is your regular file format extension, and KMZ is a zip format extension, right? But at times, many softwares don't read KMZ file, though it doesn't make much of a difference as far as zipping a KML file is involved. It's very small in size, so KMZ does not make a drastic reduction in the size, but KML is the one which you should be using. So there is a plus sign over here on the right hand side corner, top corner. You will get two options over here as it showed, right? Create a route and import a route, right? So I'll be doing that. I'll create a route on the fly because I don't have a boundary of GIDM right now. And since I don't want to fly over the whole of a GIDM, right? I will just take a sample location of garden, the front garden. So that is very easy to do. Once you create a new route, it's just pointing a finger and drawing a rectangle with hands, just like this. Once you draw a rectangle, that's all you need to do. Once that is done, you have to define the overlap. So first of all, once you start this route, it will ask you what kind of a survey you need to do. So the moment you click on a new route or something, it will ask you whether you just want waypoint route, you want to point someplace and create a waypoint, that way it will follow that path. You want an area route, that is what we primarily use for photogrammetry, and a linear route or a corridor survey, that like roads or something like that, will move along that particular line that you have drawn, right? We'll focus only on area route right now. Rest you can explore at your end. So area route, what it does? Area route, once you do, it will first of all try to load your maps through Google, right? Google Maps. Then you will have to zoom in to that particular location if you are not online or your drone is not on, right? Otherwise, what it will do, if it's on, it will directly locate where you are standing if you are outside the building, and it will generate a waypoint. The moment you do that, it will say that your new waypoint new home point has been upgraded or uploaded. So basically, it means that your point location has been found. Now it will come to that, it will zoom to that particular area. Once that is done, you create your boundary of survey. This is simple, like drag and drop kind of a thing, or just drawing a rectangle. So what you do is you simply click over here, that's all you do. One click over here, one click over here, one click over here, and one click over here, and it will say yes, okay, my 4 points have got it. That's it. That's all you need to do to create a flight path, right? Flight path. After that, what it does, it will ask you what kind of a camera series or the drone you have. Based on that, you will have to select your model and the camera type, because sometimes some drones have multiple cameras. So whether you want ultra wide angle, you want telephoto, you want a normal RGB, you want a LiDAR, you want multispectral, thermal, whatever cameras or payloads that the drone has will come in this drop down menu. So you have to select. I have already selected my Mavic 3 Enterprise and Mavic 3 camera model over here, so need not to do that. So I have done a wide angle Mavic 3 series and Mavic 3 Enterprise drone. Right? Once that has been done, second part is it will ask you for some parameters. So apart from all the other things, mostly what you do right now relative to the takeoff point, you keep the altitude as it is. Only thing that you change is your route altitude and safe takeoff altitude, right? So what it means, safe takeoff altitude right now is 66, route altitude is 120. Usually what it means is that once you start your flight planning or start your drone, safe takeoff altitude means that how high you want your drone to go first, right? So irrespective of 120 meter, 50 meter or 10 meters, whatever your cap, right? It will, as soon as it will take off, right? It will reach 66. This is in feet, I believe. It's feet. It will reach 66 feet first of all. Then if you have given that no, I want the survey to be done at 50 feet, it will come down later. But it will first of all take off and reach 66 feet. Then it will come down to 50 feet or 120 feet. So it will move up again high, 120 feet, and then it will go to its start point. Here, based on one more thing, whether I have captured it or not, let's just check. But one more step, pre-flight checks right now, upload flight plan. No, okay, one more thing I have not kept a slide over is simply that after you do your height, simple. So to plan this thing, that is, if you scroll down, there will be another option, overlap option, right? So once you have given that, okay, I want my drone to do the survey at 120 feet, my safe flight mode is 66, or you can keep higher 200, say suppose that you don't want it to, touch anything. So for safer purpose, you can even keep 200, whatever you feel that it's correct for that area. So once this height is given, it will ask you what overlap you want, because some softwares are capable of, managing even with 60% of overlap. Some, if you want a better result, you give 70 front, there is two overlap, like drone will be flying like this, right? So like this, and then like this, and like this, and like this, right? As a plant. So this is called front overlap, and this is called side overlap. So you need to mention that how much overlap the one photo would be clicked. As I told you, at every interval, like every 2 seconds, 1 second, or 5 seconds, it will take a photo. So if you mention that I want a 70% overlap, right? So the moment, like it will take first, for an example, it will have taken a first photo over here. So 70% means it will go 30% to that image, and then that image has 70% overlap, right? It will take a second click. So that is a 70% overlap. And then if you want, say this, I want a 70% overlap inside as well. So what it will do is this and this will be, flight plan will be designed in that way that you have a side overlap of 70% like this. So your next photo that would be taken from this angle will have a side overlap of 70%. This is a front overlap, one photo 70% overlap like this, and this is a side overlap of 70%. So it's simple, these two things that you have to do, nothing else, so that your flight plan would be ready. So there are several softwares. Easily has that inbuilt flight planning. I believe I have not tried that, right? But it has inbuilt flight planning software, SiteScan, right? And there are open source as well. If you just feel comfortable, there is open source software, mission planning as well, which is also good enough and to do most of the work. And any drone that you purchase, second, any proprietary drone that you purchase has probably or mostly has their own flight planning software as well. So you can use either of the software you feel comfortable enough, So once that is done, it will ask again for a pre-flight check, that what it asks, right? That all the parameters that you have set is okay. This is the altitude you want. This is the return to home altitude you want. This, everything. You just need to just take a look at it and say okay, or just press the cancel button. So that's pre-flight checks, and then you upload. Once you are okay with your flight plan, you have to upload that mission, right, to the software. Once that is done, mapping, it will ask for mapping checklist. You can just check the parameters again, that what your site is okay or not. You had this height, 66 meter, return to home, after the completion of the work, or signal loss action. These are all, they have kept it by default return, you should keep it as way. So in case your signal get lost, there are many times that happens, that signal has some disruptions or something happens, or it flies so far that it loses the signal. What should be done? So moment the GPS connectivity gets lost, it will not, maybe it will hover for a few seconds, and it feels that it's not getting the GPS signal. What it will do is, because the signal is lost, then it will return. It will return and land from the area where it has started, right? So these are like for safety feature. In this particular drone, we have like front accident avoidance, back accident avoidance, bottom accident avoidance, and likewise, so that the moment it reaches like this, it will stop. It will just over and it will not move left or right. It will just stand over here, considering that there is a wall, and it will collapse or crash to that wall. So it will move, even if you try, it will not move. Right? So it will just keep on hovering. So all these safety parameters are already set, and you should verify it. So once that is done, you start it, and this is the flight plan, and I have clicked it after the flight was over. So now the flight took off. The flight had taken its mapping and photography. Once it got completed, this is how it would look, that this is the photographs, or this is the flight it has considered and captured all the image. So then it does. So this was for GIDM. This you can see card GIDM garden. So I've just created over here, right? So that is the only thing that we'll be doing outside. So this is the process that we'll be doing. So this is your photogrammetry. After the images get captured, right? You have an SD card, external SD card from where it gets stored. Simply take out the SD card, put it in your computer, download or copy all the images. In side scan, there is an option to upload and do the processing in two ways. One is your photographs, another is your folder. Probably you had better presentation yesterday in side scan software. I'll just give you a brief again later on, right? So, but basically those are all steps that you have learned yesterday. So you upload a folder or a photograph list or list of photographs, and then you can start processing. You know how to process in side scan? Huh? If you say no, I will show you. If you say yes, I skip. Think over it and let tell me. I have prepared a slide yesterday for side scan as well, but I can show you. Actually, I have learned. I am actually new to side scan, to be very honest with you. But I have found it very interesting, very fast, and I had actually tried learning it the yesterday whole day whenever I found time, and probably I may be able to teach you something. PPT के अलावा कुछ नहीं देता. The moment I shift to software, it goes away. इधर तो दिख रहा है सब. मैंने इसलिए प्रेजेंटेशन भी बनाया था. I'm not leaving you. मैंने प्रेजेंटेशन भी बनाया था, और मैंने सोचा ये शायद ज़्यादा अच्छे से हो पाएगा अगर लाइव साइड स्कैन में आपको दिखाऊं. मैंने अपनी रिसेंट माइनिंग साइट का, जहाँ पे पानी का भी इशू था, वो साइट का इमेज प्रोसेसिंग किया साइड स्कैन पे. इट टुक अराउंड 4 hours, राइट? मैंने दोपहर को किया था, और शाम तक like by 9 or 10 o'clock, I don't know, it got over, right? And it mentioned that you are like 560 images. It will take some 4 to 5 hours to process, and it will send you an email once it gets over. So I tried on 2 of my project. One was having like 100 images, 90 images. It took around 1 hour. And another project which was having like 560 images, it took around like 4.5 hours or something like that. So in general, you can keep in mind that every 100 images will take 1 hour. Just, I'm not sure, I'm just giving you based on 2 processes that I have done. 100 images took 1 hour, and 560 images took around like 4.5 to 5 hours. इससे इसका वो नहीं आता. ये हो जाता है. So आपके को स्क्रीन पे वीडियो प्लान आता है, पर ऑपरेटिंग में आपने वन सॉफ्टवेयर और समथिंग इट विल नॉट शो यू. Browser only, it's not even a software, it's just a browser. Google Chrome ही है.
आप सबने बोला होगा तब दूसरे रिसोर्स पर्सन से फिर आ गए.
ठीक है.
नहीं, I just recheck.
Yeah, just remove something else. Doesn't matter. जनरली इधर जो भी डिस्प्ले होता है इधर तो होता ही है, यहाँ पे भी हो रहा है यहाँ पे भी हो रहा है. I just let me something else. Science के बाद
You uploaded two things. एक ड्रोन मेमो फाइल बन किया है और उसके बाद एक इसलिए बदलना है. Next time
okay, I have prepared a slide as well. But at times it so happens that graphic card does not support some software or something. So just for my learning or learning purpose also, since I found it very interesting, SiteScan is a superb software and very easy to use, very fast, very convenient.
actually 60 feet or 120 feet. Like उसमें कुछ difference accuracy में आता है.
Newton. या वहाँ से मुझे देख रहे हो यहाँ से मुझे देखोगे तो क्या फर्क पड़ेगा?
तो वो में इसका क्या अभी कितना लिमिट क्या है टॉलरेंस जो ये
Like whatever your project requires, if you require a very high resolution, it will show in GIS, right? The pixel, like you have learned in your ArcGIS, something pixels, pixels, right? A minimum mappable unit for that particular project, right? So you should know that if you want 2 meters spatial, accuracy or resolution, or 1 meter, or say like not meters, maybe 2 centimeters or 5 centimeters. Usually, every project or government projects asks for 5 centimeters or better resolution, spatial resolution, right? If you fly low, it will give you 2 centimeters as well. If you fly even low, it will give you 1 centimeter because the coverage from the drone and to ground, the ground coverage, it will be far more, high or ultra high resolution that you will get 1 centimeter GST as well. So it all depends on your requirement.
कोऑर्डिनेट में लीडर्स करो पड़े नहीं मनी के पास.
Those are totally different. You're mixing things up. LIDAR is a separate technology. RGB is a separate technology. Thermal is a separate technology. Multi-spectral, those are all sensors. It all depends on what kind of a requirement you have. Now suppose, let's say you require a visual image or a band image in a visual band, right? RGB data, right? The true color composite, right? Of GIS for say sticking it to a wall, for display purpose, right? You just require an RGB for that. Because that's all your purpose. You just want a high resolution, good image. So you will fly it in an RGB camera, and you don't require, you are least worried about the elevation and everything. You just want a photo or a map rather. So that is RGB. Now suppose sir says no, I want the measurement of the building. I just want to correlate how accurate is BGPS and how accurate is drone, or rather I just want on the fly quickly, by tomorrow I want to see what are the heights of all the buildings. I want to plan something and with some other people or group of people. I just want it all ready by tomorrow. If you do a DGPS survey, it may take some time. In that case, as I told you, you just fix a base station. You just do an RTK survey, right? And it will create a DSM, DTM, and your orthomosaic, all three together. Easily SiteScan by default, I believe, gives you everything, right? Within few hours. So irrespective of what your requirement, you will get DSM, DTM, contours, orthomosaic. If you have a LIDAR, maybe it will give you a LIDAR. Now LIDAR basically in general stands for light detecting and ranging. What it means basically, it has a better penetration power than your RGB. So suppose like you have like this canopy covers like this. Suppose a very big jungle, complicated jungle, good canopy cover, and you are unable to easily look beyond those trees trees or leaves, right? This is kind of canopy cover you have. RGB data may not penetrate to this gap between the leaves and look into those ground coordinates, right? So LiDAR has more precision and better in that respect. The density of the point cloud is far more than your RGB. So in that case, even if there is slow gap, small gap, it will still penetrate whatever amount it can, and it will try to capture the data from the trees below the gaps between the trees, leaves and everything, so that when you convert your data from DSM to DTM, it will have a better resolution. Suppose you have a 50-meter ground over here. This is a tree. You have a 60-meter ground over here. That's some kind of a slope, right? But below this tree, now if you have taken an RGB data, and this is a tree canopy, this is girth, this is tree canopy cover, right? And this is 50, this is 60. And you have done an RGB data, and it is not able to penetrate beyond this. What it will do is when you convert your data into DTM, it will take 50, 60, it will remove this tree, maybe probably it will interpolate and 50, 55 and 60. It will do it something like that because it does not understand what kind of ground below the tree is, right? Maybe if you have a LiDAR and you have a better penetration or density of clouds, and it is able to collect the data between the leaves, and it says that no, here actually the ground is little more deep. It's like say 40 to a point. Then what happens when you try to convert your data? It will be 50. Then you will try to bring it down to like 40, 45 something, and then it will go to 60 like this. So that is the purpose of your LiDAR. Basically, it will generate better DTMs or even better DSMs, right? So for elevation and this kind of a purpose, it's more useful. And of course, the quality might vary as well.
સર્વે કેનાલ સર્વેની અંદર અમુક જગ્યાએ જવા નતા દેતા ખેડૂતો બધા એવી આખો હોય પછી લીડર સર્વે વાળો જો ઓપ્શન પછી પ્રિફર કરે છે
See, LiDAR costs around 35-40 lakhs, right? Drone separate. If you require a LiDAR survey, they will charge like 2 to 3 lakhs minimum for a small area as well, or maybe more, 4-5 lakhs and all. RGB survey on other hand can be done through any kind of a good drone that you have, Indian versions, foreign versions, whatever. And if you just want depth of a canal, right, this will also give you the same good results. As I told you, in the morning lectures, there is so much of a technology. Even if you have a LiDAR, you don't have a PPK. That I told you, PPK, RTK, normal mode, without RTK, PPK models, everything has its own variation in accuracy. So you need to understand what kind of an accuracy you want. You just need a canal photo and maybe a depth. If it's an open area, even RGB will give you a sufficient accuracy.
કેનાલ ડિઝાઇન કરવા માટે કંઈક ગ્રાઉન્ડ લેવાનું
Ground below, but if suppose it's an open ground, or maybe some shrubs are there, right? Small shrubs are there. It does not really make a difference. You still be, the ground area still will be visible in a good amount. Small shrubs are there, and it will still generate a DTM out of it, a good DTM, because it understands all the area surrounding that shrubs. Grass may be काफी सारे gaps होते हैं, maybe there some kind of a noise gets generated because of the grass, but you can still get a good DTM. And if you are engineers, right, you can learn to do offsets based on your practice. So आपका ये वाला drone भी काम करेगा. LiDAR on other hand is so costly, so you need to look into it whether you really want a LiDAR survey or the RGB surveys will do. तो PPK और RGB PPK भी करोगे तो आपको बहुत अच्छा एलिवेशन और एक्यूरेसी मिल जाएगा, राइट? तो प्लेन ग्राउंड है ना, तो मेरे हिसाब से कोई ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ना चाहिए विद PPK drone. तो PPK drone is always suggested to use, right, for a good accuracy as a professional work. RTK is also good, provided you have a good connectivity all the time, so it would be parallel. The quality would be parallel or good enough to compare it to PPK as well, provided it has a good connectivity throughout the flight this thing. So it all depends on the purpose of the work. Okay, so the software is not working. I will have a slide, whatever slide I have prepared, so I will show it to you. You also know it, you have learned it yesterday, right? So I have also learned it yesterday. So you and me are both at equal level right now as side scan is considered, right? But I have learned it properly, looking to it that I want to use it in future. So I may be able to remember it, I'm not sure. But first of all, once you open you will be asked to log into your login IDs, right? Admin जो भी है, login करने के बाद one page will pop up, right? And you will be then asked to generate a new project. तो मैंने ये जब किया एक्चुअली स्लाइड्स क्योंकि जस्ट अभी किया है ना मैंने सुबह सब मैनेज किया है तो अगर सॉफ्टवेयर चालू होता तो मैं प्रिसाइजली आपको बता देता बट दिस स्लाइड्स आई हैव मैनेज राइट तो फर्स्ट आपको एक ये दिखेगा यू हैव टू जूम इनटू योर एरिया एंड गिव अ पॉइंट एंड नेम बट वो उससे पहले आपका पहला न्यू प्रोजेक्ट आएगा मैंने ऑलरेडी एक कुछ दो ट्राई किया था आपके लिए ट्राई किया था सुबह और मैंने बनाया था स्लाइड राइट सो पहले वो प्रोजेक्ट पूछेगा यू हैव टू create a new project तो यहाँ पे आप क्लिक करोगे यहाँ पे आप क्लिक करोगे तो it will give you ask you for some information and then you new project will be created वो क्या है वो भी मैंने बनाया हुआ है तो न्यू प्रोजेक्ट पे जैसे आपने क्लिक किया तो यहाँ पे न्यू प्रोजेक्ट का नाम पूछेगा आपको सिर्फ न्यू प्रोजेक्ट का नाम यहाँ पे ऐड न्यू प्रोजेक्ट नेम वंस यू नेम इट राइट क्लिक ऑन द नेक्स्ट बटन ओवर हियर बिलो बॉटम राइट उसके बाद प्रोजेक्ट नेम आपने डाल दिया SSNNL ड्रोन प्रोजेक्ट 1 नेक्स्ट क्लिक किया इट विल दिस काइंड ऑफ ए मैप विल पॉप अप नाउ दिस इज जस्ट सम पॉइंट इट हैज पॉप्ड अप नाउ यू वांट टू डू अ सर्वे एट GIDM और मे बी सम प्रोजेक्ट साइट एट SSNNL राइट तो आपको यहाँ पे उस जगह का नाम लिखना है मैंने जैसे यहाँ GIDM लिखा दिस हैज नो रिलेवेंस राइट नाउ दिस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट हैज नो रिलेवेंस टू योर project planning or mapping or survey it is just for your understanding कि ये जो प्रोजेक्ट है वो GIDM रायसन गांधीनगर में किया गया था you can correct me if I'm wrong right I have experience of 4 hours तो यहाँ पे आपका वो रिलेवेंस नहीं यहाँ पे आपने क्लिक किया तो वो वहाँ पे सर्च करेगा और उस जगह पे वो चला जाएगा इन दिस केस यहाँ पे आ गया ठीक है तो यहाँ पे आप आर्बिट्रली कहीं पे भी एक पॉइंट क्लिक करो GIDM रायसन करो उसके कोऑर्डिनेट्स मैप करो और यहाँ पे आप किसी मेंबर्स को इनवाइट करना चाहो तो आप किसी मेंबर्स को इनवाइट करो हियर आई वाज इनवाइटेड yesterday because I was doing it for the first time so मुझे ऐसे इनवाइट किया इनवाइट टू द प्रोजेक्ट मेरा इनविटेशन हो गया और इनवाइट न्यू मेंबर्स अगर किसी को करना है और मेरा नाम यहाँ पे आ गया दैट टीम मेंबर हैज बीन इनवाइटेड एंड एडेड तो ये प्रोसेस हो गया देन ये आपका यहाँ पे प्रोजेक्ट आ गया ड्रोन प्रोजेक्ट 1 once that project is done click on that project right तो यहाँ पे आपका आ जाएगा ऊपर SSNNL ड्रोन प्रोजेक्ट 1 राइट नाम दे एडमिन राइट नाउ तो वो प्रोजेक्ट आ गया प्रोजेक्ट के अंदर वो पूछेगा कि डू यू वांट टू मर्ज सम मिशन और यू वांट टू क्रिएट अ न्यू मिशन आई वांटेड टू क्रिएट अ न्यू मिशन राइट सो आई विल क्लिक ओवर हियर राइट नाउ क्रिएट अ न्यू मिशन so it will again ask you what mission so you can give a project name or a mission name so as of now say this was my third attempt say the drone flight 3 maybe I have completed 1 or 2 earlier then I could have named 1 2 and this is the third area survey you will ask for what kind of survey you want I wanted an area survey there are different options over here which will pop up I have done an area survey give the date and click next right so once you click next it will now ask you for 2 options as I told you earlier you want to upload the photo and you want to upload a folder right so if you have a proper good filtered folder that no wrong images are there the unwanted images are there you can delete all those unwanted images and you can filter out the images that you want it for that project in that case you can upload a folder so that you don't have to select all the images you simply select that folder and all the images will get uploaded or another way you can select and go for upload photos so if you suppose upload a photo then it will ask you how many photos or what photos you want to upload so you can just select all the photos that you want right and then it will start uploading so this was the process right every image as you can see is like 36 or 37 MB images so this gets uploaded within like few minutes only it doesn't take much of a time to get to upload this thing so it will get uploaded over here then it will show you the upload summary if you click on the summary portion that is you have to scroll down it will show the summary portion so if you click on the summary portion it will show you that how much photos has been uploaded so 85% and here you will have a photo summary that all the photos have been uploaded. No duplicates are there, no errors are there. Right? So simple as that. Once that has been done, actually I tried to one small project and one big project. So this is a slide from that small photo, right? So this images, it will show you where those images had been taken, the locations of all those photos. This was my flight path. It was actually flight path was like this and going a little further, but I had, for a demo purpose, I just selected 20% of it and tried to see whether it works well or not. So this, it shows that how the photos, you see that some gaps or some photo where missed, either missed or some maybe flew a little fast and it skipped that, some got even overlapped more than. So it all depends on the GPS and the drone that you are using, the quality of thing, or maybe the wind velocity, turbulence over there, so that photos will be captured in that particular fashion depending on your environment and weather and the drone. So once that is done, now okay, this is now as the sir was just asking me that you also should show every possible step to make a precise mapping. There are two ways to do a mapping or photogrammetry. One, you don't require GCP. In case of PPG, as I told you, you have two separate instruments. One is your DGPS, which will log its own data separately, irrespective where your drone is flying. If it's in a range, right, DGPS range, and you do a drone survey separately, what you do is in post processing, you have your GCP coordinates now, and you have your drone photographs. You have to prepare a Rhinex file. That's something Rhinex file, right? For convenient purpose, they have a model so-called Rhinex file format, which is considered by most of the drone. You collect the Rhinex file from the DGPS and you upload the photographs and put it in some software, right? Based on the time sync and the locations, it will geotag all the photographs. And after that, geotagging in Indian versions. Again, I'll tell you two things. Indian versions like Idea 4 or any other companies, right? We apparently, to my knowledge, do not have a straightforward or inbuilt system to geotag a photo. You have to run a separate process to do geotagging, whereby you will have to have your flight path, Rhinex file, photographs which are not geotagged, and you will have to have a separate few hours dedicated to geotagging those photographs. Whereas foreign drones, like the one I have brought it over here, has a geotagging function inbuilt, so I don't have to do any kind of a post-processing as far as geotagging is concerned. The moment I drone lands over here, I simply take out the card, load it, and do my post-processing that I want to do actually, or prepare a photogrammetry map that I want to prepare. I don't have to do geotagging. It's simply plug and play kind of thing. So you take out photos and you do a photogrammetry. Now, since you have not used GCPs over here, you only use the GCPs or rather the GPS systems from the drone, accuracy will vary. As mentioned in the earlier lecture, there is simple GPS survey. You can consider it that it is not connected to anything and as a GPS, you can relate it to GPS survey, the accuracy that you have on a GPS. Then, as I mentioned earlier, second type of survey was RTK survey, which has far better accuracy than GPS. Right? It needs a continuous connectivity between all the instruments. And if the connectivity is loose, then you will have a data gap. In that case, you will again have to do a survey or you will have to do a post-processing in a different fashion to add geotagging to it. Third is a PPK, that is post-processing kinematics, which is an independent DGPS and drone survey, irrespective of where your DGPS flies and where your drone is flying or DGPS is kept. You do a post-processing, it's in range, and you don't have to worry about the data loss and all because it's continuously collecting the data, GPS as well as this. So in a way, PPJ drones are better. It's more suggestive. So in any case, so all those things have been done outside this particular software, or if they have this capability, you can do that here itself in SiteScan. Then it will show you this photographs over here. That okay, these are the locations of the photographs. Here you have an option now. This it has just loaded the GCP points or center points of the photograph that has been considered. Now here there is an option to add GCPs or more photos, or if you want to overlap something, a mission or invite something. But here mostly more important is GCP. So now you are adding the GCP points, right? Ground control points which you have collected through DGPS separately to your software. So now this has been like the all of this mining area has proper points to it. Now these are the GCPs. These are taken from DGPS survey. So it has loaded over here, it has loaded over here, here, some places, right? Wherever we have collected. Now this point, as you know, from your DGPS system is very precise. Now you have taken a corner of this particular building or maybe road or a pole, whatever is there. You know that my DGPS was showing a millimeter level accuracy, like in morning I was explaining. So you know that this is having a 5 millimeter or 7 millimeter or 1 centimeter accuracy over here. You are not so sure that this photograph has the same level of accuracy, but you are very sure that this particular point taken out from our DGPS is having a 5 mm or 1 centimeter accuracy, right? So now you know that this is the corner of, say, suppose this line, or there is a pole over here, so to say, right? Or maybe you have a marker. Generally, there is a process whereby mostly now they ask that you have to have a permanent benchmarks or permanent GCBs marked either on a stone which doesn't move, right? Stones or some buildings or some place, pillars, installed pillars, and you have to have such kind of a markers on ground, right? These are on ground. Consider this crossbar drawn on ground. So this is showing on ground, and you have taken a GCP point on this particular center of the marker, and you have decided this is so and so coordinate, and this is over here. Now if your map, this, say for an example, this is the corner of this particular point. What you do is you assign, you click on that, there is a process, right, GCP matching. So you click on this particular point, you click on this image, and that image will pop out, right, if you want to see. So you click on this image and so kind of a drag it or put a marker over here that this particular point or image is not over here, but it is actually over here. It should lie over here, something like that. So what you do is you click over this here. Normally you won't have this much of a gap, but in case you have, you drag it and drop it. This you can relate. You can relate something which you have learned in this exercise in the beginning called georeferencing. You can relate it that way. Basically what you do in georeferencing, you have a coordinate either from topo sheet, or you have a proper coordinate either from second image, and you have a satellite image. There is a shift or something, right? It's not aligned maybe. What you do is you put a point over here, you put a point over here in the next image, blah blah blah, and you will align that image matching perfectly over to a previous image or a topo sheet or a ground control point. Same thing that you did in georeferencing, same thing you can relate, and you are doing it over here. The process simply is little different because we want a higher accuracy, and there are photographs actually having this marker. We have to click on this marker and then to a GCP point, and it will shift to that particular point. Like suppose over here, right, this thing, and here. So this is already marked over here on ground, right? And then you can add, and it will show all the photographs that is having that particular marker, and you have to just shift to, or click to those points to match it, right? This actually I took it from ESRI only. This particular two three slides, but markers over here. So once that is done, your image is ready to be processed, right? So you have a boundary cropping, an option of boundary cropping on high, so whatever is like not having a proper boundary, you can cut it off and all. So once that is done, it will ask you for the confirmation of a process, right? And it will ask you that if it was like this, it will take 1 to 2 hours to process, and you will get an email of it. So once that is been done, the mission, when you click on again on the processing button, it will show the mission is being processed. It's not completed yet. Once it gets processed, you will get an email like this. This is what I got yesterday. 9 p.m. See what time I was working here yesterday. You will see 9:17 probably at night. I had done that. So I have got this, and then this was the result. This is my project. This is my project right now that is uploaded. So this is the project. Actually, you can do a 3D mapping and everything over here. Now, just to Now, in fact, you had a lecture, you have a better lecture. I just had a brief explanation. You can tell me what all things are there before I start. How many hours of training you had yesterday on this software? Sorry? Say, okay, you tell me what all things. Anyone can, or all of you together, say what all those buttons means. See, I had only worked on 2-3 hours, then to late, yesterday night. I believe I remember everything. If the software was working, actually I would have done everything. And I had only 2 attempts rather. See, I'll tell you what it means. This is a 2D map. It will show you this map in 2D format. Right? This button stands for timeline. So, slide. So basically, correct me when or if I am wrong, right? This is a 2D map. It shows a 2D map over here. This is a timeline. What it means? It means change detection. Suppose you have one image in the morning or maybe 5 days back or 10 days back or 6 months back, and you have a second image processed of same area. You can load both these images side by side and it will show you a timeline change, right? This is your point cloud. So it will show you a 3D rotation, right? It will show you a 3D rotation, but there would be small pixels kind of a thing. It will cloud, and this is a mesh. Basically it will be a 3D, solid 3D that you can rotate and visualize. This is a layer which will show you all the layers that has been processed. Mostly it is photographs, elevation data, ground control points, orthomosaic. And in elevation you will have a here option of selecting DSM and DTM, either of the one. Once that is selected, it will show you the contours respective of what you have selected. Contours, elevation model, cut and fill, how much if it's a like mining area, how much cut or fill is required if you want to level that place. Cut and fill, hill shade will give you like sun angle, sun elevation, sun azimuth or angle, you know. Likewise it will show you a hill shade for a visualization purpose. Here, this particular area is here, as I already clicked, you know, it will give you a files to upload, GCBs to upload and process. This is the processing button. This is a downloading button. This is a uploading to cloud button, and this is a sharing button if you want to share. So this particular is for data sharing, you can say. And on other side, I come to those slides as well. On other side, this particular toolbar, the first button, as it says across side, this is a background image of base map. So you can turn it off or on. If you click on the first button on the right hand side, then it will turn off. So you will get your own process data and you will not see anything in the background from the server, right? This second button from the top is a base map layer, right? So you can select different base map. If you want a satellite image, you want a terrain map, you want a Google map or something like that, right? So different varieties of base map you can have. This is a north angle. I suppose it will turn the map to north. I have not tried that because it's already north aligned to me, right? Zoom in, zoom out, as it says here. It will give you this line, polygon, point, group, and photo. That is all this button means. Line means if you will draw a line from here to here, it will give you its line, length, or probably slope and distance. This is a polygon button. Once you click on the polygon button, you will have to select a polygon over here, which will give you the area. And I believe there is cut and fill options and everything that is available. You can load it over here. I will show you slide one by one slide. And this is a group button, again points. These are points which will give you the altitude, longitude and height. And it is a group button, right? They have some terminology for it. Controls or points or something like that, but basically it's a group button. You select it, maybe you want the roads to get mapped, so you just take 4 or 5 points, it will give you all the coordinates and the elevation of that. And you can prepare a separate group again, maybe water bodies, and you select the points, and you can have a different elevations and coordinates of water body. So basically group. And once you click on this thing, the photo points that you were shown earlier, so if you click on this button and click on those circles, it will pop up those photographs. Right? That's all that have in this interface. And then when you do a polygon, it will also show you a 3D later on. So I just move one by one slide. So here I have just prepared this yellow blocks for you to understand. That's a 2D layer right now. Timeline, right? So here it shows timeline gap, right? This is the same image. I didn't have a second image right now. So I just shown you that 2 different dates you can do, matching of this thing, Then this is point cloud. So it looks like a 3D image, but if you zoom it, you will see points like this, right? It's a point cloud right now. And the mesh, second, it's a solid 3D. So now you can rotate this mesh right now. Since it's a presentation, I don't have a video of it, but you can rotate and visualize in any form, any angle that you want. So that mesh is a 3D mesh, and you can have a solid 3D visualization of your data. Now coming back to the files, you can upload few files to your projects. This is a measurement tool which will show you all the measurements of the points that you have selected on the right hand side. It will show you all the measurement in the measurement block. Here what it's got selected, edit. Okay, so once it's a 3D, as I told you that polygon and polygon is selected, and you want a volume of it, cut and fill of it, you can select a 3D view edit 3D in volume in 3D. So once you do that, it will ask you for lowest elevation, that is mentioned in blue line, level 3D planes, highest elevation, so the plane will shift, and you can visualize the same. This is in 2D. So moment you change your parameters over here, this height will change, and you can visualize it in 3D this way, right? So I just have tilted it from vertical like top view to horizontal like view, so you can visualize it in a 3D manner over here. Then, as I mentioned, these are the points over here. Enable those points, and if you click on this point, this thing, the photo will pop up. Right? So click on those points, and the respective photos will pop up for you to visualize and check. And then there is contour option. Now, if you go to second this thing, elevation data. Right now, I have selected digital surface model and contour. If you enable the contours will automatically get generated. You have an option to change the distances of the contours. You can do that, and you can collect or download the contour as well. You can even give a color coding and all the different settings are there. You can explore that, right? Then there is elevation model, right? Elevation model will depend. You have to select either DSM or DTM. In my case, probably I had a mining site, so DSM, DTM will more or less won't change much because it's a terrain only. However, I had my car over here. It's not visible over here. There are some trees over here. See that? This thing, this might change if you have a DTM. But I don't know whether I have kept a slide of it or not. Oh, I have a little video. You can change and check. Also, there is some option, right? So, look really nice. So I had a little video of it. But you can have and change the elevation and the elevation range, and you can visualize it. How or what looks in reality. So that is one elevation model. Then you have cut and fill, so you can have a grid and you can understand how much cut and fill is required in that particular area if you want to study that. You have a hill shade, as I told you, so it will give you hill shade. It has options for sun elevation, sun azimut, right? Depending on that, the result or the shadows will vary. And then you have layers, as I told you. You can have layers on and off. So I'll turn it off, the layers on the background just disappear. Then this is a layer option on, so you can select from different varieties of maps and you can put it in the background. I have not kept actually there is in the background, but it's not just visible from here. You can see the line over here or something. I've just kept a topography map in the background, but probably I'm not sure whether it's visible from there or not. Your line option, as I told you, now you can draw a line and you can check the slope and distance. I have just kept it over here for your reference purpose, slope and distance. So you can select either of it and those parameters or the figures will be displayed like this, you know. The point I have kept it in the big slide point, the total distance and the slope. I have not kept a slide for slope, but anyhow. Then you take a polygon, draw a polygon, and you will have be displayed on the left hand side cut and fill. You can check cut and fill and area and all. Then you have a point marker tool, so you can check from the left hand side point coordinates and the elevation will pop up. Then you have photo tools, as I told you, you can click on one point and all the photos respective of that or related to that particular point will pop up and you can check it very well. That's all probably it has. That's what I understood. I believe I have covered all the features. Is there any more features that I need to know? Because I had a little experience on it. You had a good session from the technical experts. Although even I had one session from the technical experts of ESRI yesterday. So that is
orthomosaic part also. Because in the drone service, that is basically we have a when I was there with the body, we have put up this thing, orthomosaic images are submitted along with the project for those mathematics service. So why the orthomosaics are important, that they should know.
yes, of course. That the orthomosaic I will cover it. We have covered mostly whatever I thought civil engineers require. So we are still not going for a demo. ये तो सिर्फ साइज के अंदर था, अभी ड्रोन का मेरा प्रेजेंटेशन तो बाकी है, right? So we cover what sir just told why orthomosaic is required. I'll be very brief. I'll not do it again a little lengthy, but I tell you exactly why we require orthomosaic. Okay, so drone. Okay, so drone technology, you know, just like you know AI and you know IoT is now becoming a very you know fundamental or very important portion of our you know day-to-day life, you know. So most of the government departments are now you know having mandatory clause that you should be doing a drone survey. Lot of departments, lot of you know domains like mentioned over here, project planning, you know railway networks, highway networks, land development, urban planning, mine site, volumetric estimation, land surveying, you know disaster management. Every sector has a requirement of drone, right? So drone basically you can consider it as a you know a kind of a transportation system which can carry any sensor. It was like a vehicle is you know moving on the road. Drone is just flying, you know, intermediate between plane and your ground, right? So it just carry whatever payload, whatever sensors you want. It's just a carrier, you can say, right? So it is useful in many sectors now. Many of the government departments have made it mandatory. I'll not go into all those things, but Home Department, Agriculture, Geology, Petrochemicals, lot of Revenue Department, every department has a mandatory clause of having a drone, you know, images. Even in mining, like in geology, I am basically into mining, right? So in mining sector, they have made it mandatory to provide drone images every year for monitoring purpose. It's mandatory for every agency, mining companies to provide a drone image and DSM, DTM, and even the accuracy assessment every year. Okay, so now what are the advantages of drones? Can anyone tell me? It's already there, you can read. Please be little interactive. Read it, someone can just read it, right? Why drone is important to civil engineering and why not satellite image or traditional surveys or not? What advantages does it have? Decreased field time and cost. What it means? You can just say something. But I know you are listening.
फिजिकली जरूर ना पड़े कि ड्रोन
बराबर, राइट? तो તમારો ફિલ્ડનો ટાઈમ પણ બચાવે છે, પૈસા પણ બચાવે છે, ગાડીનો પેટ્રોલ પણ બચે છે, जो easy ना हो तो, right? પછી બીજું less or no possibility of for manipulation. શું મતલબ છે આનો?
And you can make away the manipulation possible.
Right? So this is kind of a DNA of an area. एक जो छप गया वो छप गया, unless you are good in Photoshop, right? But anyhow, so but little. That's why I have kept less or no. I didn't say no, less. But Photoshop, वो सब कर सकते हैं experts. But it's still a very cumbersome, tedious process. Less manpower required with better workplace and health safety. So you don't have to physically go there and face all the weather issues and safety issues and everything. You just stand in one portion and do a survey, right? And which will be much more safer. All weather data. Actually, by all weather data, actually meant was that you can do a survey in a rainy period. Also, there are drones which are like which can manage a little drizzling, not like heavy rains. In fact, DJI has some drones which can manage heavy rains as well. But basically, drizzling can be managed by drones. But what here I meant was like, suppose it's a rainy season right now, right? Which is, and you want data to be captured. You want a photo of this particular area is of this particular day or time or month. If you try to get it from satellite, you may not get the images of satellite because it would be all cloudy at this month of a year, right? So basically, if you take a satellite data, then you will see that a lot of clouds are there and you want it, it's not getting captured. Drone on other hand, suppose if I had like 3 hours of time and you know that it's not going to rain for some time, you can just fly it and you can collect the data. So basically that is what I meant by you can collect the data in any weather. If it's a hot weather, you can sit aside below a tree and you can do a survey, right? I do that. I remember those. So all weather, real time data. You can take the data of this particular time as you want it, right? Satellite images cannot provide you real time data. Land survey will not provide you a real time data in a sense that it's a very large area. You either need a lot of human resources, or otherwise the moment you start a survey from one point and you end it in another point, it would be some few days or at least months or so, and it may not be that much important to you for that particular project, right? Less disruptions, maybe it's like PPK, RTK and also that it's prone to less disruption. You can post process it, images and everything and all. More accurate data and precise measurements. That's same what we mentioned. Mapping inaccessible areas, like of a mining site. If I was mapping a mining site, I cannot go down and come up with. It will require a lot of energy and energy drinks for me to do a survey on a mining site, right? So a drone will be very helpful to us. My 2 geologists are laughing. They are my geologists and they actually do all these things. They have been of a great help. Slope and aspect mapping, that once you have a 3D model straight away in your hand, you can do all the other things like slope and aspect mapping. This is what sir was talking about, ortho rectification. Now you have learned about geo rectification. You probably might have heard ortho rectification. In my last lecture also actually I mentioned ortho rectification. I have given the slide, same thing, I'll repeat it right now. Right? So what do you mean by ortho rectification? How it will be useful for you? So as a part of planning portion, let's see here you see 2 images which primarily or on a first glance looks same. You feel that both the images are same, right? Do you feel that? Right? Now look at carefully at the peak of the hillock. You will see that there is a shift, right? So I have drawn a line. I don't know if it's visible. A red line will appear over here. See that here and here. You see that it's more or less center, and you see that there is a shift over here, right? So it's not actually perfectly aligned or ortho-rectified. And you see that below there is a oblique angle to it. So what happens in that case? What is the purpose? Or what happens? Suppose you have a hillock like this, right? A hill like this. Or suppose you can say that this is a hill over here. Now, if you have taken a photograph right from the top and you have taken a photograph, you will see everything what is on the top. And you will get the exact area what it has, right? Because it's an orthogonal photo, it's a straight horizontal from the top, right, Nadir, and it will have an exact area. Now suppose what happens if you take a photograph of this particular point from where you are sitting, or maybe if you are standing, or maybe I take a photograph from here like this in an oblique angle. What will happen? What will happen?
You will see the area from that side only. You will not get the top full
I
area.
will not get the full area or not get the precise area of the top. Maybe I'll be able to visualize the sides more. Maybe this side is totally invisible to me, right? And I may not be able to map it. Suppose if it was a hillock like this or hill like this in real sense, right? Then this area, this would also be visible if I have taken a photograph from the top. What if it's an urban setting? What if it's an urban setting? You are a civil engineer. You are working in an urban setup now. And what if you are supposed to do a land use map? Land use map, I believe, will be a very basic thing that every civil engineer needs to understand. Because what is surrounding your project site? You need to understand. That's how you build the thing. You need to understand the soil, groundwater levels, and everything that is surrounding to your project site. This is a scenario, one scenario that I have kept. Do you remember what this is? Yes, Adani House. You were there last time? You were there, right? Thank you. So, yes. So, this is an Adani House. This image is taken from Google Earth. Right? I have collected, and now many of you work on Google Earth. Or you do some mapping, some sort of mapping or planning on Google Earth. You do that, right? So, if someone asks you that just give me a on the fly what is the area or what is the build up of that particular site or a land use of it, what will you do? You will try to map this thing, right? Now you are asked to do a mapping of a top terrace, or maybe you are asked to do a mapping of a land, right, or a build up area. What will happen? What you will do, you will map, definitely you will map like this, because that is what is visible to you, and that's a build up area. That is what you will do, correct? Right? So where you are wrong in doing that? You have done a fantastic job based that you can possibly do with full precision, but still you are wrong. Why? Because the image itself is wrong. Image itself is not corrected, right? And once you have done a drone survey, you have ortho-rectified your image. I have done a drone survey for Adani, so I just kept it for a reference purpose over here, right? So this is what it will look like. This is an ortho-rectified image. This is your Google image, and every year you will shift, you will have a different angle of this particular tower. 2015 में देखोगे तो कहीं और से फोटो खींचा है, 2017 में देखोगे तो किसी और एंगल से फोटो आया होगा. So every year it will have a different angle to this particular building. But ortho photo on other hand will be a perfectly aligned nadir 90-degree angle from the top, and this is what is your correct area or build up area. तो अगर कंस्ट्रक्शन में है, सिविल इंजीनियर हो, बिल्ड अप एरिया गिनना है, then you have to have a ortho image, rectified image. अगर आपने इस पे काम किया तो सारा काम गलत होने वाला है. You are right, but the image is wrong, right? So this imagine now you are working in a township. What will happen? Adani township. हर बिल्डिंग, वो एक बिल्डिंग दिखाता है, ये हर बिल्डिंग ऐसा दिख रहा है, और ये हर बिल्डिंग का मैपिंग आपका गलत होगा. देखिए कितना सारा क्यूमुलेटिव एरर आप देख लीजिए कितना सारा होने वाला है, right? So that is where the drone mapping, drone survey is important, right? Similarly, ये दूसरा इमेज है. अब now suppose a drone image you have taken it at 60 meter AGL of Adani Shantigram, and you want a DSM of it. जो ऐसे अभी हमने माइनिंग एरिया का देखा था, right? जो माइनिंग साइड का भी, ये कंस्ट्रक्शन साइड का है, ये अदानी का साइड में कंस्ट्रक्शन भी चल रहा है और यहाँ पे बिल्डअप एरिया भी है. तो ये ऑर्थो मोज़ेक इमेज है. अब ऑर्थो मोज़ेक को मैं कन्वर्ट कर रहा हूँ डिजिटल सरफेस मॉडल में. तो ये आप देख लीजिए, यहाँ पे ये बड़े बिल्डिंग्स है, ये सेमी हाफ सर्कल्स वाले हैं, ये आपका वो क्लब एरिया है, राइट? और आप देखिए वहाँ पे, यहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा है. ये मैंने यहीं से उठाया था, यहाँ पे ये कंस्ट्रक्शन साइट है, यहाँ पे पूरा शायद कंप्लीट नहीं है, ये बिल्डिंग्स कंप्लीटेड है और वो बिल्डिंग वो क्लब हाउस है. तो सबका एरिया, रिलेटिव एरिया देखिए. तो ये एक्चुअली I have not added a legend over here, otherwise it would have been much more easier for you. लाल कलर है तो वो हाइट ज्यादा है, ऑरेंज है तो थोड़ा हाइट कम है, लाइट ग्रीन है तो उससे थोड़ा कम है. ये ट्रीज है, बेसिकली ये ट्रीज है सारे, और ग्रीन है तो वो बेसिकली टेरेन है, राइट. सो अगेन आई पुट इट दिस वे फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड इट, राइट. तो ये DTM करेंगे तो व्हाट DTM स्टैंड्स फॉर terrain model, and what it does, terrain. It will remove all the man-made buildings, streets and everything that sir was talking about, right? LIDAR survey. तो अगर वो कर रहे हैं तो इसमें आपको इसका रिजल्ट थोड़ा अच्छा है. ट्रीज होगा तब, ये तो फिर भी बिल्डिंग है, तो नॉट इन दैट केस, बट मे बी अ डेंस कैनोपी कवर. तो उसमें आपका ये होगा तो आपका पूरा ये DTM करोगे तो पूरा बिल्डिंग और ये आप देख लो सारा रिमूव कर दिया. अब ये सिर्फ टेरेन है, राइट. तो ये बेसिकली रेड शेड में इसलिए दिख रहा है क्योंकि सबका मोर और लेस एलिवेशन सेम है. आप लीजेंड में अगर देखोगे तो हाइट सबका वही रहेगा जो आगे की इमेज में टेरेन का था, बट वेरिएशन बहुत ज्यादा था, तो वो ग्रीन से रेड में उसका वो कलर पैलेट आपका वो चेंज कर रहा था. बट बेसिकली हाइट विल स्टिल रिमेन द सेम और वो बिल्डिंग सारे गायब हो गए, आप देख लीजिए, राइट. तो दिस इज अ DTM. So this is important for your construction site as well. अगर आपको कुछ सारा एलिमिनेट करके नया मैं बोलोगे कि मुझे अपना नया टाउनशिप करना है, इसको हटाओ, तो आप टेरेन समझ के फिर कर सकते हो, राइट. Another thing where it is important is your slope analysis. आप देखिए यहाँ पे आपके स्लोप के वो डिग्रीज दिख रहे हैं, स्लोप बना सकते हो, या एल्टीट्यूड मैप आप जो GSM या DTM के साथ कंपेयर करो तो वो सेम ये है. दिस इज फ्रॉम वन ऑफ अनदर प्रोजेक्ट. तो आपका स्लोप एनालिसिस करना, तो ये मैंने एक्चुअली फ्लड मॉडलिंग के लिए अपना किया था. तो स्लोप कहाँ पे, एंड दिस इज एस्पेक्ट मैप. यू नो एस्पेक्ट मैप बाय नाउ, राइट. व्हाट इज एन एस्पेक्ट मैप? व्हाट इज एन slopes direction, right? So in which direction? So same ये एक्चुअली मेरे प्रोजेक्ट का है, मूव फास्ट. अभी जैसे हमने साइड स्कैन में देखा ना, वो ये कि आप कंटूर्स बना के इसमें एरिया निकाल सकते हो. तो ये मैंने आज GIS में ही किया है. तो मैंने आज GIS में कंटूर्स निकाले थे और एरिया मेजर किया था. तो ये उसका स्लाइड है, ये पीट एरिया है, वन ऑफ माय माइनिंग साइट. इसका कंटूर्स है, खाली कंटूर्स है, बैकग्राउंड इमेज हटा दिया. ये 3D मॉडल बनाया था. ये कट एंड फिल में मैंने साइड से बनाया कि कितना फिल, रेड आपको कितना फिल करना पड़ेगा, ग्रीन आपका लेवल है, तो इस हिसाब से आप कट एंड फिल इसका चेक कर सकते हो, वॉल्यूमेट्रिक एनालिसिस कर सकते हो. तो दिस आपका ये आपका 3D मैंने एक बनाया था इसी में से. तो ये आप 3D देख सकते हो, इसमें मैंने वीडियो लिया था. मेरी माइनिंग साइट पुणे में हमने किया था, ये पुणे का है, right. So this is how it would look. Okay, there are different, I'll just move fast. There are different categories of drone. या different rotorcraft, hybrid, plane जैसा होता है तो plane है, right. हेलीकॉप्टर जैसा होता है और हाइब्रिड भी है, जिसमें एंड्योरेंस भी आपको अच्छा मिलेगा और एलिवेशन भी आपको वो एलिवेशन के टाइप रोटरक्राफ्ट काम करेगा. वो तो मिक्स ऑफ बोथ, वो हाइब्रिड होता है. एरोप्लेन मोड आप करोगे तो बेसिकली एरोप्लेन या फिक्स विंग का बेसिकली एंड्योरेंस ज्यादा होता है. बाय एंड्योरेंस आई मीन the length of the coverage, right. Rotorcraft में एक फायदा ये है कि it will just, it will be like an helicopter, right. It does not require a long airstrip to fly. It will just take off from the point where we want it to fly, right. Just the one which we showed. Requirement of drone में usually क्या होना चाहिए? GPS, return to home, anti-collision, ID plate, that is UIN number, flight controller, RFID, right. No permission, no takeoff, that's anti compliant drone. तो ये इंडियन पॉलिसीज में ये सारी चीजें मैंडेटरी है कि इफ यू हैव अ ड्रोन, इफ यू आर अ ड्रोन मैन्युफैक्चरर, you need to comply with all these rules. You need to have all these modules within that drone. There are different categories of drone again. There is a nano category, right, which I will show you. Micro category, which I had just shown you. Then there is small category, medium category, and large category, right. 5. What are all those 6? Nano category is basically less than 250 grams in weight. Micro category is 2 kgs, less than 2 kgs. Small category is basically less than 25 kgs. Medium is less than 150 kgs and large is beyond 150 kgs. This is maybe for military purpose, for agriculture purpose and so on, you know. For maybe mapping purpose, micro category is good enough for you to most of the surveys, right. If in case you want a radar and something like that, small category will suffice your requirement, right. So you need to have a license to operate this drone as well. You need a license plate for this drone as well. Before all these things, you cannot fly, right? You need to have a drone pilot license. From where you can get it? Of course, BGC, right? But there is drone pilot training organizations, RPTO. There are registered training organizations from BGCA. You can take your training from there, right? यहाँ पे जैसे गांधी लेबर इंस्टीट्यूट में भी है, संस्कार धाम में भी है, and there are a few other places now. It's very much available in Gujarat as well. So you can take your training. Usually 5 दिन का training होता है, and you will get your drone pilot license, right? Of at least small category. I have a drone pilot license to fly up to small category, so I can fly any drone up to 25 kg, right? Which is more than enough for my requirement. So that is the, and as I have already showed you that how you do a mapping, right? Is the same slide, you know. पहले बाउंड्री बनाओ, फ्लाइट प्लान बनाओ, ओवरलैप हाइट स्पीड मैच करो और फ्लाई करो, राइट? दिस इज माय अदर ड्रोन, दिस इज एन इंडियन ड्रोन, दिस इज Rhino from Idea Force, and this is a full-time PPK drone which is having a survey grade like DGPS kind of an accuracy, right? And good enough for photogrammetry works, right? It's a micro category, just less than 2 kg. Okay, this is a software flow. I will not go because we have already gone through a software process. Drone policy. Okay, this is the site, you can note it down, Digital Sky. This is the site where you need to register your drone, upload your drone pilot license, or you may apply for your drone pilot license and do all the kinds of managements, or you can say certifications. Over here, it's already mentioned over here. You can already you can check whether who has got a UIN number. The issued UIN is there. UAS models, what kind of models are available, training centers or trainings, remote pilot who has got the pilot license, right? If you want to hire someone, if you want whether you have got a pilot license or not, you can check it from this site whether it has been approved or not, right? And on this folder, there are forms that you need to fill and submit it to DGCA for that clearance. So I'll just zoom into that particular form if I have not. Okay, it's not. I have different. Okay, this is not the slide. Just let me check out policies and everything. I have a separate slide for digital sky. मैंने पूरा किया था. I thought it will not. Okay. डिजिटल स्काई का मैंने एक सेपरेट वो बनाया था, तो वो स्लाइड भी दिखा था, एंड वी गो फॉर अ डेमोंस्ट्रेशन, राइट? Does it take some time? It's not. ये तो पीपीटी है, तो हो जाना चाहिए. मेरे डुप्लीकेट वो ऑन ऑफ करके करता हूँ तो शायद आ जाएगा. So I'll just take 5 minutes, not more than that, right? डिजिटल स्काई में आपको सारा अपना ड्रोन इंजीनियर हो यार, अब यहाँ 5 मिनट तो डेडिकेट कर लो कि जा रहे डेमोंस्ट्रेशन के लिए. Anyhow, you want a break, you want to go for demonstration straight away, because this will apply only who wants to work in a drone industry, or you want to apply for your drone or get a pilot license. Who all is interested? अगर किसी ने हाथ रेज नहीं किया तो I'll skip this slide and we'll go for a demonstration. Otherwise I'll take 5 minutes more and show you how to get your license. किसी ने हाथ नहीं किया तो I'll just skip it for now. That's no one is interested, so should I show? I'll skip it. ठीक है? चलो, the drone demonstration is my geologist will